Welcome to Bible Over Brews. News. We're playing a game tonight. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be entertaining news. Going to try to out-trick each other. I'm here with Keith.
I drink because we live in interesting times.
And I'm here with Gumby.
I drink because I'm happy.
And we are going to be starting with Yeungling, America's oldest brewery. It's their classic lager. It is a delicious, delicious beer. One we featured before, and we'll feature again because it is ever so smooth.
Have we done England before?
We have.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I was having deja vu as I was about to explain how, like, at a certain point, like, every Ohioan went across the border just to buy Yeungling. You couldn't buy it.
True story. My father used to go across the border and grab full kegs and bring them back.
And you said that exact story.
It's true.
But it bears repeating. Now all the beer's everywhere, which maybe, I mean, that's good, but maybe that's not as fun. I mean, it was kind of when you had to work for it, there was something to it.
There was
Still
some
good beer, though.
True. When you had to work.
That's right.
Like corn. Nobody wants it.
Nah.
Sorry, that should have been forever.
That's come on, Gumby. That is always so consistent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which black magic they use on that, but it is always consistent.
They've got a good process.
Yes, they do.
It's one of those beers you can actually, like, drink in place of water. Like, not in a bad way, like in the good way. Like, a lot of beers who you would, like, associate with that actually aren't good enough
It's true.
to drink in place of water. But you could just be like, man, if I was just, there just was no water for like days, but there was just a bunch of Yingling, you'd be like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be good. So what you up to, Keith?
Oh gosh, what am I up to? I don't think I've slept since the election. It's just like this weird, like, I've always, like, not that I'm like freaking out, but I'm just like, things are weird. So I'm gonna stay up and play video games. I pulled out SimCity 4, which is about 20 years old now.
Oh.
And I picked up an old, like, you can make like a region, like a bunch of cities together. And I picked one up that I like started 10 years ago and added 1 million people to it.
It was the same one?
Yeah, it was the same one. Yeah, I just had the file sitting on a hard drive. Actually, the reason this happened was because at the last tech conference I was at, I won a little mini hard drive. And by the way, like, mini hard drives are so much smaller now. Like, I used to have, like, even when they were like solid state, like a terabyte or 2 terabyte SSD was still like, substantial. Like, it barely fits in your pocket. And they gave me this little thing and it was like this. So anyway, I was like, oh, I should transfer like all my backup data to this because this new little thing, it's like nice and new and reliable. And that's where I found my SimCity files. And 100 hours later.
Nice.
Your money's worth.
Other than that, playing with, I mean, as president to today, I'm playing with a lot of AI, doing a lot of like AI programming. Like, there was a bunch of programs that have just come out that actually will like write whole like apps for you, or at least make a good try. And I've been having a lot of fun with those. Like, oftentimes not trying to like make like a real thing, but actually seeing like if I can make it like a parody of a real thing. Like, one day I was just like, all right, make it like Dragon Quest, but totally jank. And so I actually had it where it like made this level of this classic video game for the most part. Now, it didn't look anything like the game. Like, it looked like MS Paint combined with the game. But because like by the time I got to that point, which was only a few hours, I was like, oh, you know what? To make this fully jank, I need to add music, but I'm not going to add real music. I'm going to like record myself humming the songs. So you can play this game and you can hear my voice. And I did like 2 different things. You go to a battle and it changes the theme, and oh man, it was just so much fun. It's really given me like a lot of like joy and like for fun programming. Like, I've always liked that, but I feel like it's hard to get started on something. And I feel like we're in this golden age where like a lot of people can get started on something. And if you just have like a little bit of knowledge, like if you have no knowledge about it, you'll probably get frustrated. But if you have just a little bit of, like, you'll be either A, totally dangerous, especially if you're like a sociopath, but like B, like you can just go to town and possibly do whatever.
Interesting. I did see a couple of guys who are learning how to do engineer prompts to create simple video games. It was impressive because they would just do the simple prompt, load it into their I think it was Python based website. They would load it up, and it worked.
Yeah, so you can watch a bunch of YouTube videos of people like I call it like one prompting. They're like, can I make this whole program in one prompt? And you see what they put in, and you actually realize that isn't just someone explaining something. Because if you ever talk to people casually explaining what software they want, it sounds like a total mess.
Right.
These are people who are like basically practicing being like product designers, requirements analysts. So in some way, it's kind of like shifting like one competency from one competency programming to like another competency that, you know, also is a high paying job in the software industry. But at the same time, though, I find it's actually been working pretty well being intentionally conversational, like going in without thinking about it too hard, without spending like a day writing a design doc, and instead just conversing with it, asking questions, being like, no, I don't like the way you did that. Could you make that blue? Could you make that a little wider? Could you make that actually work?
Nice.
That's super impressive. My son plays, I don't know, maybe your guys' boys have played with the 2 Scratch.
Oh, yeah. My kids love that.
No.
And it's, I think it's like on the simplest level based, computer-based games. You know, you can make your own kind of games and other people can play it.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they do some real cool stuff in that.
They do. And I was, you know, at first I'm like, you know, he's trying to get me to do it, play with him. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into that. But then when I saw some of the games and I'm like, oh my gosh, these things are actually legit.
Yeah.
What the heck? So he's really into Sonic.
Okay.
And there was this one game on there that was like 10 times better than Sega.
Really?
Yes, than the actual Sega. I'm like, I asked my son, I'm like, somebody just created this and uploaded it so we can play for free? He's like, yeah.
I might have played that one because we're obsessed with Sonic at home too.
I'll find out which one specifically, but then you could like swap between characters and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it was way better than Sega back in the day. As a matter of fact, I never liked Sonic back in the day.
Okay.
Oh, Sonic was great back in the day.
It was all right. I mean, I just wasn't into it. I was more into like Mortal Kombat, stuff like that.
Me too.
But yeah, so anyways, it's super cool.
Have you downloaded anything off of MAME?
Oh, like like you mean the arcade cores or whatever?
Yeah, because they have the full emulators on there.
Yeah, actually, so I my son's birthday was today.
Okay.
And I got him because he's been taking the bus to school. I got him one of those like mini emulator ones that like the ones that are like $40 or $50.
Nice.
And I got him the one that was like you could download like a custom operating system on it, and it's like totally like it has like fast forward and rewind and like infinite features. It like supports all like the open cores or whatever. I found like some really esoteric games. Like I had to download like 300 gigabytes to get like one game off of it because it was like a zip file on the Internet Archive.
Really?
just so I could get like this very like weird esoteric game that only came out in Japan for like the TurboGrafx CD or something like that, and had it preloaded for him. Like I had a lot of fun with it because like I love like a birthday present. Like you have to prepare. Like you have to like put some sweat into it.
Yeah.
There's RetroPie. So on Raspberry Pi, you can actually download the operating system RetroPie. So you have this tiny little computer, and it will play all the old emulators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet these they probably have similar software origins because I feel like a lot of these are almost like they're not Raspberry Pi technically the platform, but they might as well be like they're the optimized version of like Raspberry Pi inside a box that LCD attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that fascinating because it's just kind of crazy cool. I actually have one I've never finished, and I did upload and install RetroPie onto it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so at some point when I have a little extra time, I will finally load it up. I even have the old NES controllers for it that are Bluetooth.
We'll have to do some like live streaming out here when you finish it.
Yeah.
We'll play Bubble Adventures.
Oh, there you go.
Oh.
I just want to play Duck Hunt.
And what have you been up to, good sir?
Me?
Oh, yeah.
Music, recording, a lot of studio stuff, writing some new material with my wife.
Oh, nice.
Producing all of it. Yeah, So really involved with that. Some other side work. I'm getting stuff with mainly just living in the studio, man, a lot.
Oh, that's good though.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
So we really
You also brought these excellent cigars.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm kind of distracted myself. These are the My Father's Cigars 2024 Cigar of the Year.
Really?
Yeah.
From here, that smells like a cigar of the year. That is some good secondhand smoke.
Grand Robusto. My Father. It's called the Judge.
The Judge.
By My Father. Yep.
Well, if I was in the family, this is what I would have.
Do I make you laugh? Am I funny to you?
I've got an offer you can't refuse.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Very complex.
Yeah, that's nice. It's got a nice woody flavor to it.
Yeah, it tastes leather.
Yeah, definitely.
I was wondering why I was feeling like I was in the tannery.
Keith, one of these days, man.
They smell good. Secondhand smoke, it's great. I'm good with it.
Oh man, wow.
Yeah, you're right. There's definitely a strong leathery flavor to it.
But in such a good way.
Yeah, in a very good way.
Beautiful construction. Man, such a great cigar. And it's working with the Yeungling.
Oh yeah. I love the slightly oily exterior. You can tell that it's properly, not moist, but properly, I don't know, damp to the palate.
Yeah, you're right.
That's nice. All right.
What have you been doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I just got back today, actually. I was at my sister's wedding for the last 4 days. I flew down there the day before so I could get settled in. My sister rented a house. So I flew down the first day, get settled in. The next day we had the wedding. And then 6 a.m. my plane took off this morning to come back.
Wow. Were you in the wedding?
Yeah, actually I was.
Wow.
Yeah. I was. I walked down with her adoptive mother. So
that's super cool.
Yeah. It was very nice. It was that. It was elegant, but it was also just fun to meet everybody. Super nice, very genuine people. We had a very good time. Yeah.
Was it an indoor or outdoor wedding?
Indoor. It was actually in an old hangar, which is now used as an event center.
Nice.
So yeah.
Whereabouts was this?
Wilmington, North Carolina. Well, actually near Wilmington, North Carolina. So
a little warmer, hopefully.
Way down there. It was actually the house we rented was off of the across from the Green Isle. So down there in North Carolina. So it was pretty cool. It was actually cheaper for me to fly back this morning because I was going to fly back on Saturday, and there was like only 2 planes that were available, and both of them were super expensive. But booking it this morning for Sunday, it was like a quarter of the price. I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, flying's tricky these days. Apparently, I mean, you got really high expectations if you want the plane to land the right side up. You know what I mean? Like,
that is a thing.
Right.
That's a thing.
Now you don't want it to be upside down when you land.
Take that plane over easy.
We're so demanding.
Oh, you want all the doors on when we land, whatever.
Unless you're Spirit,
right? It's terrible. I already have such a fear of flying, so I'm not even going to joke around about it anymore. But I just don't like the heights and flying. And
yeah, it's not fun the last few weeks, knowing that I got some flights coming up in a few months.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm definitely the guy you don't want to sit next to on a plane because I'm like checking the window. Is there condensation on this window?
Honestly, do you know what I do? I get inside, I turn my tablet on, and then within about 10 minutes, I'm like,
I just couldn't do it. I used to be so fine with it.
Yeah.
But then I think once like family started growing and I don't know, maybe age.
Could be.
I just got less comfortable with it. So I got to have like 2 shots before I get on a plane, at the airport, whatever airport, and then whatever alcohol they'll serve me on the board.
Yep.
Or a CBD gummy or something.
There you go. There you go.
I'm not even like that freaked out by flying, but I cannot sleep on the flight, no matter how long
Really?
it is.
I sleep so well.
Oh man, I'm so lucky.
Yeah,
I mean, you're so lucky. No, I'm sorry, I'm lucky.
Like, I don't know what it is, but it's almost like somebody's put baby to bed. It's so easy to fall asleep.
Well, what do you do if you're like in like the center seat in like a 3-seat row?
I always pick the window seat.
So you're landing on third base already.
I always pick the window seat.
My last few flights, I have not been able. I mean, I guess I could have paid extra, but it was on the company dime, so I didn't. I have not been able to pick a seat on most of my flights lately.
Well, who are you flying with?
I don't know, normal ones like Delta, United. I don't know, whoever I can get. Usually, there's like one that's going out of Cleveland.
I fly at United whenever I can. They're my preferred.
Okay.
airline. I love United. They've never done me wrong.
They have the best safety videos, I think. A lot.
Yeah, they do. They do. They're pretty good.
I actually got moved on a flight once. It was a European flight though,
Okay.
and we hit some turbulence. I was already tense to begin with, and the guy who sat next to me was just one of the coolest cats, just totally chill.
Nice.
But I was so tense with this thing before it ever took off, and the moment turbulence hit, I just got really tense, and then out of the blue, we hit it like a really bad patch. I'm like, Jesus Christ! And I shouted out, and the guy just looks at me. And eventually, I was asked if I wanted to move. And I'm like, all right. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I was better.
You just told me you're speaking in tongues.
It's okay. I'm Pentecostal. And now I'll take up an offering.
I was asked to move once this morning, but that was because there was a couple that wanted to sit next to each other.
Sad.
So now they still give me a window seat, just in a different row. I didn't care. It's like, listen, as long as I get the window seat, I don't care. They're like, oh yeah, it's still window. I was like, I don't care, because I'm going to sleep. Today was also the first day I've ever used one of my United passes to go into United Club.
Oh,
I get those every year,
fancy.
and I just never use them because my layovers are usually within an hour.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm not going to blow a pass for sitting there for less than an hour. Well, today I had like a 2+ hour. I think it was like a 2 hour and 20 minutes or something like that layover, and I was like, oh, today I'll use a pass. And man, those United lounges are nice. That was sweet. There was a buffet in there. I ordered a gin and tonic. They don't charge you for it. I was like, this is awesome.
Wow.
I got to hit these things more often.
Yeah.
Life goals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's because I have United credit card, so you still pay for it one way or another. But yeah, and then outside of that, I'm training a couple of my fighters. I've got one who's defending his title later this month, so up in Buffalo, New York. So that's a very exciting fight, and I have several people I'm training to fight in the tournament this year in Des Moines. So yeah, should be pretty good. We had 1,100 people compete on last year's card.
I remember you telling, yeah.
So it should be awesome.
Yeah. Any fighting in the future for you?
I'm actually debating on going on this card.
Really?
Yeah, and if I don't do this, there actually is somebody that wants to fight me up in New York.
Specifically you?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
They already offered me the fight.
So is there like a history or a beef or something?
You think so, right? No, actually, it makes a little more sense. The gentleman is in his mid-40s, so he's looking for older people to fight.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't fought in a while. I fought, a couple of years ago. But for the most part, I haven't really been super active in fighting in quite a while. So, I think when I hit that fight, what was it, about a year and a half ago? He was like, "Oh, he's active again." So so they immediately started sending me invites.
Oh, gosh. Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if the dude was calling you out because you guys were talking trash back and forth.
No, he just wants to fight people closer to his age.
Gotcha.
Just imagine middle-aged men going around like, I'm desperate to fight, and they're just picking fights with everybody.
Well, in mixed martial arts, the UFC, I mean, the lifespan's a lot. Prime is different, right? they say most people are in their prime and their peak when they're in their mid-20s, but
Right.
I mean, you got some legitimate champs pushing 40.
Oh, you have a couple that are in their 50s.
Who's the guy from Cleveland here? Fireman. I can't think of his name right now.
Stipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was not a young buck, man, but he's still fighting at very top level.
Huh.
Yeah, he had some really good fights. There was I forget the gentleman's name. I believe he's Filipino, but he's like 48.
Yeah.
And he was knocking people out at 48 in the octagon.
Crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely have more longevity in martial arts these days.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Medical miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got more tools in your toolbox per se. You know what I mean? Versus someone just trying to punch at your head in a boxing match.
It's true. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's very true. Yeah, and there's been some changes in health and training the sport as well. So training is definitely different these days than when we were younger. In a good way, in a very good way. All right. So, Keith, you have something for us.
Yes, I do. So, well, we're about 40 days into Trump V2.
Oh,
and
don't remind us.
He's had a I don't know if it's a record or if it's a near-term record. It probably is a record because I don't think we tracked this the whole history of the United States. He's had like over 70 executive orders. Many have been interesting, off the wall, possibly written by artificial intelligence, at least in part. So we were trying, I was thinking about like, hey, what if we were to rate these, or what do we do? And Aaron was like, well, we got to do something biblical. And then so one thing led to another, and I was suddenly on Microsoft Copilot, my little AI chat. It has a button on my keyboard now.
Wait, nice. I laughed at that joke, but is there some seriousness to that? Like some of it could have been created by AI?
Some people on Blue Sky were saying this looks like AI wrote it, like
really
part of it. Like, I mean, you figure they had so many coming out so quick, and they had like not even lawyers in the right position, that there was certainly like some minor. I mean, I think everybody's using AI to tweak.
I wouldn't
fine tune there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I see what you mean, to help write it, not necessarily come up with the idea.
There was also some legally sloppy stuff too, which was pretty endemic in the first Trump administration. So one thing led to another, and I was telling Chat GPT or whatever the thing's running behind this to turn these into make these executive orders of biblical proportions. Make them like Leviticus or Ecclesiastes or the Song of Songs. And the results are pretty good. So we wanted to have something where we talk about, because a lot of these executive orders are, I mean, some of them are paper tigers, but many of them are probably going to drastically change. A lot of people are already preemptively we have like Ohio OSU, like just yesterday wasn't preemptively interpreting one of these and just like fired a bunch of people because they're like, oh, these people are incompatible with this executive order.
Oh, wow.
So like a lot of people are complying in advance, as they call it. A lot of people are complying. A few people are fighting various things, and
Cash Patel.
Yeah. There you go.
Hats off to Cash Patel.
Yeah. So we'll get to that one. So what we have here is I've taken 11 different executive orders. So yeah, literally only like 14%, and generated biblical passages, biblical chapters based on them.
Okay.
And we're going to, I have different categories here, and everyone's going to pick a category. We'll go around the circle. When you pick a category, I will give you the name of the actual executive order, and then you will tell me if this was in the Bible, where in the Bible it would be. And then we'll read what ChatGPT thought.
Okay.
All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go.
All right.
All right.
Oh, wait, I should announce all the categories, everybody. I'm sorry, I forgot here. All right, so our categories are refugees, DEI,
okay,
transgender stuff, Doge, in vitro fertilization, border security, paper straws, religious liberty, Israel, crypto, English as the national language, and we have a wild card where we may try to, if we have time, generate one on the fly from the remaining executive orders.
Ooh. You know which one piqued my interest? Can I just pick?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Because this drives me nuts sometimes, especially when I would get my coffee at Metro, and it's the paper straw.
That's a great one. This one
Okay.
came. All right, so let me read the executive order title here. Where was the paper straws? Oh, here we go. Ending procurement and forced use of paper straws. Where in the Bible is that?
Ending procurement.
Hmm.
Where would that be in the Bible?
Yes, if all you're going by is a title it's called Ending Procurement and Forced Use of Paper Straws.
Hmm.
Really, where are paper straws in the Bible? Where would they be if they were in the Bible?
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing somewhere in the Old Testament. Going with Deuteronomy.
So ChatGPT would kind of agree with you. So I was like, I don't know, because I was trying not to just say like write it like Leviticus.
Right.
I was trying to like give it some like idea, like compare this to that. And I didn't even know where to go with this one. So I asked like ChatGPT, like, okay, what would be most like the debate between plastic and paper straws in the Bible? And AI suggested manna versus quail.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you have like this original like sustainable food.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the ordering is different, but you first had the sustainable food and then everybody complained about it and they got the less sustainable food, the quail,
Yeah.
the meat. So here we go. So the prompt, like this prompt was like, hey, write this like Leviticus or Deuteronomy, like write this like the Exodus and replace plastic straws with quail and paper straws with manna.
I'm just gonna point out though that when I was younger, I lived off of pretzels. I would have been okay with manna.
And of course, everywhere we go, if it says the president, it has to say the Lord. That's pretty much a rule throughout all of them. So here we go. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, there hath risen among the people an irrational campaign, causing cities and tribes to replace the quail with manna. The manna is oftentimes non-functional, imbued with substances that may harm the health of the people, and is more costly to produce. It forces the people to use many portions, and oftentimes comes wrapped in materials contrary to its purpose, defying the very cause it claims to uphold. Therefore the Lord saith, let it be the decree of the land to end the use of manna, and restore the provision of quail. The heads of the tribes and clans shall take all appropriate action to eliminate the procurement of manna and ensure that it is no longer provided within the tents and buildings of the people. The chiefs shall also eliminate policies that disfavor quail, ensuring that such policies are no longer enforced. Within 45 days, the wise men of the court, in coordination with the heads of the tribe, shall issue a national strategy to end the use of manna. Capitals. The strategy shall address 1. The elimination of all policies within the land that disfavor quail. 2. The establishment of contracts and terms with entities that ban or penalize the use of quail. And 3. All other available means to achieve the policy of this decree nationwide. These commands are given not to impair the authority of any office or to affect the just management of the land, but to ensure that the laws are upheld and the resources are rightly used. Let these words be true and just for the good of the people and in accordance with the will of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord. That's awesome. So I wasn't too far off.
No, you're pretty good.
All right.
You're doggone close.
I'm only non-Catholic.
So this is our point too. If anybody has, I mean, this might be the least. I mean, you have opinions about paper versus plastic straws. So what do you?
They just annoy me because they're like, I hate to say it, but the ones that are like worse for our environment last longer, and all of the newer ones that are more sustainable.
Yeah,
man, they're crap.
They are.
I'm like, am I drinking the straw now? Where'd it go? Like, so maybe that's the point. I don't know. But what is the executive order about?
It's about getting rid of the paper straws.
So like most
was
of
that important to really?
So this is
That's
like
important.
So actually the general theme of why something like this would be important to the Trump administration is more important and notable than the actual thing itself.
Yeah.
So there is this like, well, number one, there's this tend to like politicize everything. Like if something can be a nonpartisan issue, if we make it a partisan issue, we get people excited about it. So paper versus plastic straws is one. Gas versus electric stoves is another. Electric versus gasoline car. Like all these things where it's just like product choices that you should make the choice based off of what works for you. What was that?
There were two orders that came out right after each other that annoyed the absolute crap out of me. That was one of them. I said, hold on.
Straw?
So I don't know if you know this, but to pass a bill, just to initialize passing the bill, it cost $100,000 just to start the process. That's not including rolling it out and everything else. But to actually get it going is $100,000. So you're spending our taxpayer money on that.
I mean, that's the thing is like I was annoyed by it, right? But I'm like, I don't really care. I'm not gonna. If I was the president, even if I was annoyed by it or the administration, right? I'm like, is it really that big of a deal to raise a fuss over it to actually begin some kind of legislative process?
You can paint Democrats as the party of paper straws.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because they're supposed to be like
that's what it is,
eco-friendly or whatever. So it's basic. It's just culture war stuff.
Gosh, it's so God help us.
The other one was the Gulf of Mexico being changed to the Gulf of America. It's like, wait a minute, you are dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars to change a name?
That might be a front runner for the wild card.
You can't even spell Mexico.
I mean, we could have put this money towards an emergency fund, towards homelessness, towards education, to changing the name. Oh, come on.
So here's another way that which these two relate, because it's also about an actual like executive order, like the scope of what the executive branch can do is kind of limited by like what do they actually directly control. So when it talks about paper straws, it's going to specifically talk about banning the use inside of like federal buildings, like within offices that are controlled by the executive. But like it'll always have this part about encouraging elsewhere.
Yeah.
And like what it is it's kind of the signal to like outside entities, to states, to private companies, like, will you adopt this policy? Like, will you do this? If you come out ahead and be like, the government's going against plastic straws, so I'm going to do, or paper straws, so I'm going to do it too. Like, you are signaling fealty to the king.
Yeah. Virtue signaling.
Which is exactly like the AP has been kicked out of White House briefings because they decided to keep referring it to the Gulf of Mexico, its historical name.
I was kind of ticked off. It's like, where's freedom of the press? Isn't that guaranteed in our Constitution?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna have a lot more like that.
Awesome. We're gonna have fun. Are you guys annoyed by the straws thing? Did it bother you guys or no?
Yeah. Why are you spending money on it?
Oh, but no, I mean, did you ever get one of those new sustainable straws that annoyed you?
Oh, I did once or twice. I will say there was one of them, one out of the ones I've had, one that actually worked. But
okay.
But we actually just got rid of plastic straws. Like we have a series of stainless steel straws we use that in the house.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's you just wash them and then reuse them, and they will never melt.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of similar. Like I've kind of defaulted to like regardless of what straw is available at a place. Like if I don't need a straw, like I just don't get a straw.
Yeah, same.
And at home, like the only time I like really need a straw is when we have like smoothies, and we have those like really wide metal straws, and those are awesome for smoothies. They're better than anything you could have had,
so good,
plastic, paper, or otherwise.
Yeah, you're not lying.
That's good to know.
All right, crossing paper straws off the list.
All right.
I took one for the team, guys.
Thank you. That was a good one. That was a good one to start with.
Good.
What do you got? We got refugees. DEI. Going for it? Refugees. All right.
He looks right at me when he says that. That's so wrong.
Going for the jugular. All right, let me read the title for you here. Okay. These are all out of order. This is my problem.
Sounds like a song.
Was it subsidization of open borders, or was it here we go. Okay. The executive order is called Realigning the United States Refugee Admissions Program. What book of the Bible is this in?
So I have two picks. Because there's actually laws in Leviticus about it. But the best example I would say would actually be in Matthew, because Matthew, when he gives the talk of the sheep and the goats, he talks about, I was naked and you clothed me. I was thirsty and you gave me water. I was hungry and you fed me. So I would actually say that Matthew, what's that, 25? I would say Matthew 25 would actually be closer to the heart of what God would say. But as far as laws go, it would go back to Leviticus. So
All right. So I actually, speaking of Leviticus, so when I gave it the prompt, I said, okay, write this as if like the president is Pharaoh and the refugees are the Israelites trying to get out of Egypt.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
And also reference Leviticus 19:34, the foreigner resting among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself.
Yep.
For your foreigners in Egypt. But also to like then explain why you don't need to follow that. So here we go.
because they're Samaritans.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. All right. Realigning the United States Refugee Admissions Program. And it came to pass that Pharaoh spake unto the people of the land, saying, Behold, in the land of Egypt there has been a mighty influx of sojourners, even unto the cities and small towns. From Charleroi in the east to Whitewater in the west, strangers have come in multitudes, even unto the great cities of New York, Chicago, and Denver. They have sought sustenance and aid, yea, and even declared states of emergency. But the land of Egypt is not able to bear the weight of so many, nor provide for their needs without great hardship upon the people. Therefore Pharaoh commandeth that the gates of Egypt should be shut unto the refugees until such time as their entry be in accordance with the interest in Egypt. Thus it is decreed that only those who can fully and appropriately dwell among us shall be admitted, and the safety and security of the land shall be foremost secured. It is also decreed that the cities and towns of Egypt shall have a voice in the placement of these strangers. Pharaoh proclaimeth that the entrance of refugees into Egypt be suspended, for it is deemed harmful to the land. Therefore, in the first hour of the 27th day of the first month, no refugee shall pass through the gates, save those whom the officers of the state deem in the national interest. And the officers of state shall halt all decisions upon the status of refugees until further commands are issued, and is given unto the secretary of the gates, with the council of the judges, to devise a plan whereby the cities and towns may have a greater role in the dwelling of refugees among them. Within 90 days, the officers of state shall deliver unto Pharaoh a report on the matter, and every 90 days thereafter, until it be found that the resumption of the admittance of refugees is in the best interest of the land. Pharaoh also revoketh the decree issued on the 4th day of the 2nd month in the year 20 and 21 that aimed to rebuild and enhance the resettlement of refugees. If any part of this decree be found wanting, it shall not affect the remaining parts, which shall stand firm and unshaken. These commands shall be enacted with accordance with the laws and availability of resources, and it is not intended to create any right or benefit enforceable by any party against the land of Egypt or its officers. Thus did Pharaoh decree, and so it was written, and it shall be done.
So saith Pharaoh. Wow, that rings true today. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Right.
Whoa. We won't go there yet, but yeah. Wow.
So this one was like this executive order, I believe, was the one. I'm now a little bit confused because I think there was another immigration one, and I might be mixing up the two. But this was talking about this might be a different one than the one where I actually referenced Leviticus. Oh shoot. The description is suspends the refugee resettlement in the U.S., directs the Homeland Security Secretary and the Secretary of State to submit a report, blah, 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 as well as to submit subsequent reports every 3 months until Trump decides to no longer suspend the refugee resettlement.
So there's a little bit of pros and cons on this one. So like, I totally understand that we do have to figure a better way out for migration. Okay, that's been ongoing for administration after administration after administration. We do need to figure out a better process. So I totally agree with that. That's true. What I don't agree with is getting rid of birthright citizenship. That I don't agree with, because that is a constitutional right. And if we're saying, we're going to rewrite the Constitution, what's the point of even having the Constitution? So that's, and you could say that, people are using it. Okay, well, then we have to reform what's happening. But the thing is that we can't just start rewriting our Constitution willy-nilly, because then what do we stand for? So that right there, I don't agree with. I don't agree with just letting an administration rewrite our Constitution. That's what our country is based on. So
I think when I'm thinking about refugees in particular, like I realize it's not just talking about all immigration, but it's talking about specifically people who have refugee status. And I'm trying to, is that exactly the same? Or I know it's related to temporary protected status, right?
It's so, yeah, there's a little bit of leeway there, because then if they are then have children that are born here, then they have a birthright citizenship.
Right. But I'm just talking about like someone who is in a country where we recognize that someone is a refugee because it's like war torn or
Yeah.
they're facing religious persecution or et cetera.
We grant asylum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that even happened in Springfield, Ohio, right?
Right.
With Haitians. Who our governor said are here legally and protected legally. So
yeah, so I guess what I'm thinking about is like, well, number one, we're like no longer recognizing refugee status effectively. We're saying that like if you are fleeing something, not just like I want to come to America or which I mean, I feel like everybody who's trying to come to America is fleeing something, but even if you're in like one of these groups where we previously acknowledged that you really kind of don't have a home, that we are no longer bringing you in. I have a feeling that's like probably like contravening some like international laws or standards even as well.
there's some talk to be had there because we are aligned with certain international entities where we sign certain agreements. So there's definitely some of that at play.
And while this executive order isn't about that, the Trump administration has talked about revoking temporary protected status.
Yeah.
So people we have, and they actually talked about this, and I don't know how much they accomplished. They might have accomplished some of it last administration, like folks who were here because they helped us in Vietnam and we got them out of Vietnam. And then like decades later, the Trump administration is trying to kick them out.
Mm.
Like literally, I mean, it speaks to a lot of things, like people who have helped us in life or death situations, in war, and then we're just like, no, get out of here. You weren't born here.
Yeah, yeah. And there's on the refugee side, there's definitely things I can complain about with the previous administration as well. But there's
It is.
No administration's been clean on this.
No, yeah, I agree with you for sure, 100%. It's kind of complicated because I do think that there should be always some kind of protection and legal rights for them, especially when it's something that's blowback from U.S. foreign policy that causes it.
I've spoken on the podcast several times about how some of the refugees running to us are the refugees that we created.
Yeah, absolutely, whether indirectly or directly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's just, I think we import what we export.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And they ran to us because of that.
Yeah, and so when they come here, they're probably not exactly, oh my gosh, the American dream. They're not, it's never under that kind of wishful thinking. It's
very rarely.
So they're coming here pissed or probably angry. They lost maybe some of their families left behind. Most of the time, whatever education they may have is not recognized over here. I've known many immigrants here who had like master degrees from over there.
Oh yeah.
And they have to come over here and they have to work like a janitor job.
Yeah.
In banks or whatever. And it's just like, you get to talking to these people once you actually take the time to talk to some of them and you realize, oh my God, these people are like educated. They speak more languages than I do.
Oh yeah.
And yet, they're cleaning our offices.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I digress. But
if you watch the movie Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs,
yes,
great movie.
Oh yes,
movie. I love that scene when they're at the helicopter and they need a medical emergency, and the cameraman walks over and takes care of it, and they're like, "Wait, how did you know how to do that?" He's like, "Oh, in my country, I'm a doctor."
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Ding ding. Where's our bell?
Like, and my kind of catchphrase lately when I've been talking to people who are like, kick all the immigrants out or whatever, has been like, like, I swear the median Republican politician like would send their own ancestors back at Ellis Island. Like, and the subtext there is that basically all of our immigration policy, like any red tape we put up post 1920, has been driven more by xenophobia than actual like policy concerns.
Yeah. I wonder if my ancestors, I'm third generation, I wonder if they would have even got in, because it's apparent that they were probably fleeing because of Nazis moving towards the Czech Republic. That's probably why they fled, because in the late 1920s, well, all throughout the 1920s, they were already moving and already doing things. And so that's probably why we fled, and came to America, was to escape that.
Yeah.
Because then right after that, they occupied the Czech Republic. Now,
Man.
thankfully, they were kicked out, but for a short time.
And it hasn't always just been like that. Trend hasn't just been the United States, really, like all of the West. Like when I was in London a few months ago, we were at the Transit Museum, and there was an exhibit towards the end that was explaining about the same tightening of immigration policy already in countries that were already part of the Commonwealth.
Wow.
That like at first it was like, oh, if you're in the Commonwealth, you can move throughout the Commonwealth, and then like people in areas that were white saw brown people and they didn't like that, so then the laws started changing, and then it was you had to go through this and all these people could migrate, and like then they started closing the rings. And that's why you go to London, it's very multicultural, but that especially post Brexit, that like it's gone to like a trickle between like policies restricting migration throughout the Commonwealth plus Brexit means like not that many people of different are likely moving into the UK at this point.
Or if you were a gypsy, they don't like gypsies.
And wow,
they would rather have anybody there than gypsies.
it's a complicated subject. It really is, because then you think of the other extreme, right? So the conservative side of me comes out a little bit too, and then it's like, well, it can't be a free for all for everybody then. So there has to be some kind of policy, but it has to be, fair.
But what if it was a free for all? What if it was open borders?
This is what I was saying, though. But like historically speaking, a lot of oligarchies in the past are always like open the floodgates of immigration.
Yeah.
They want mass immigration to the extreme because it keeps the oligarchy rich and wealthy. Yes. Because it's easier to divide a general population among masses of immigration.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is just something that's been known and understood for a long time. So, the Soroses, who understand this kind of policy and would drive towards that and fuel those things. So
we don't give them voting rights on day one. You just let them live here and don't kick them back over the border.
I'm just saying it has to be. There has to be some kind of policy, and it needs to be fair. So I don't think you kick them out or you don't allow them in. But I mean, I really just go back to like, man, we need to fix our foreign policy.
We really do. And that's been generations that we've needed to fix that. You're right.
So I don't know. Man, we should go back to paper straws.
All right. Well, we'll lighten it up a little bit here since it's my turn to pick. And I'm going to pick one that I didn't do a lot of research into because I just typed it at the end. Crypto.
Uh-oh.
All right. And let me find okay, here we go. So the name of it is Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology. And man, what would be the equivalent? I might need a little help here. Like, what would be the equivalent of cryptocurrency?
That's a whole conversation right there.
In biblical times.
Oh, I was going to say Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
Is it like maybe like trading like sheep for wives or stuff like that, or like?
Honestly, I would place it in inside the Book of Revelation.
Oh,
because
Mark of the Beast stuff.
There's the mark, not the Mark of the Beast. You had to have the Mark of the Beast, because you had to pay obeisance to the beast in order to gain access to the marketplace.
You cannot buy or sell.
Oh, yeah. I dig it. Okay, yeah. That's good. That's good. All right, let's see what ChatGPT said.
Evangelical.
The words of the Lord, spoken with wisdom and grace. Behold, the Lord doth decree to promote the leadership of his land in the realm of digital treasures and financial wisdom. The Lord's desire to protect the economic liberty of his people and to support the responsible growth and use of digital assets and blockchain wonders. The Lord saith, let the people freely access and use these digital wonders for lawful purposes without fear of persecution. Let them develop and deploy their creations, participate in the validation of their treasures, and transact with one another without unlawful censorship. Let them keep their digital treasures safe and secure. The Lord shall promote and protect the sovereignty of the dollar of his land, ensuring the growth of lawful and legitimate stable treasures backed by this currency. He shall protect fair and open access to banking for all law-abiding citizens and private entities. The Lord shall provide clear and certain regulations built upon technology-neutral foundations, transparent decision-making, and well-defined boundaries. This shall support a vibrant and inclusive digital economy, fostering innovation in digital assets and distributed ledger wonders. The Lord shall guard his people from the risks posed by the digital currencies of other land central banks, which threaten the stability of the financial system, individual privacy and the sovereignty of his land. The issuance and use of such foreign digital currencies within his jurisdiction shall be prohibited. Thus saith the Lord, the term digital asset shall refer to any digital representation of value recorded on a distributed ledger, including cryptocurrencies. Okay, blah, 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 blah. That's the definition one. I think it picked up some extra stuff. The Lord hath revoked the previous decrees and frameworks concerning digital assets and has directed the revocation of all related policies and guidance that are inconsistent with this new decree. Within 30 days, the wise men of the Treasury, Justice, and other relevant agencies shall identify all regulations and items affecting the digital asset sector. Within 60 days, each agency shall submit recommendations on whether to rescind or modify these items. Within 180 days, the working group shall send a report to the Lord, recommending regulatory and legislative proposals to advance the policies of the decree. These are the works of the Lord to protect and guide his people in the realm of digital treasures. Thus it was written, and so it shall be done.
Yes, I say the Lord. You shall own nothing.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
So I'm guessing this is basically just saying, like, it should just be a free-for-all. Like, tech bros run wild.
I wouldn't lie if I didn't say I wasn't a little concerned.
Well, what's your thoughts on it, Keith? That's your...
I am not into cryptocurrency, like, at all.
Okay.
I'm actually probably I mean, other than it just feels like funny money. You know what I mean? And it obviously, like...
It's such a great song. Beatles.
Like, it's... I mean, you can see why it is... There's such fluctuation. Oh, I know what I have opinion on lately. The meme coin thing. That stuff's crazy. Like
Doge.
Doge was like a meme coin before they were really meme coins. Yep. Because it was kind of like unintentional, and like the Doge people didn't make it the meme coin. Elon made it the meme coin. Like Doge was just having some fun. But true. More recently, like we've had all these celebrities make their own coin. Of course, we had Trump and Melania make their own coins, and they do this whole thing where they have their buddies buy up most of the stuff and then pump and dump it. Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you. So all the suckers buy this meme coin when this new cryptocurrency is introduced, and then all the people who are involved with it sell it, and then they're left with the asset that's worthless. So this happened with Trump coin, Melania coin. It happened with Hawk Tuah Girl coin.
Right. Yep. Famously, people lost what? I think the total was $93 million was lost, right?
On which one? Hawk Tuah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of that. Like, she goes from saying, spit on that thing. Oh, sorry. To
that's after dark.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. to $93 million, like costing people $93 million in like a day.
Yeah.
That escalated quickly.
That's a lot of money. Wow. That's a lot of money. Yeah. I won't lie. Crypto worries me a little bit. And everyone's like, why? It's so much better. Here's the thing. We are due for ginormous solar flares right now, like big ones, and they will be cataclysmic. When it happens, it will knock out satellites. It will knock out data centers. When it hits, we don't have backup for these things. There goes your crypto, because and your AI systems. I mean, everything's going to go down when these things hit, and they're predicted to hit over the next couple of years. I'm hoping they're wrong, but if they hit, if you don't have some form of money outside of electronic currency, it's kind of going to be SOL, right? It means sure out of luck.
So that did you hear about this?
Mr. Party Pooper.
Did you hear about this British guy who, like years ago, his ex-girlfriend threw out a hard drive, and it had a Bitcoin on it, and now it's worth 700 million. And he keeps trying to like petition the city to let him dig up the landfill to try to find the hard drive. And the city's like they've finally had like kind of like authoritative court rulings that said like, no, you can't do that. Once you throw something out, you give up the possession of it.
Yeah.
And also like they have a legitimate concern that if you dig up a landfill, you're gonna release like noxious gases and stuff like that.
It's a legitimate concern.
Wow. Yeah, I feel the same way pretty much. I mean, just like to the extent where it's at now, I don't have that much of a problem with it. But if we just keep inching our way towards that kind of currency for our complete monetary system.
Yeah.
And it's like we really don't own anything.
There's been talk.
There's no wealth. There's no real wealth anymore.
Right. There's been talks in the White House about replacing our current dollar with electronic currency, crypto. Like Trump and Elon are on record as stating that it would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
And of course, this is just as much about like crypto, and probably more so. This is about signaling to a certain group of people who have supported his administration. So, if we did switch to crypto, like the worst case scenario or the best case scenario for them, who runs these things? But the people, the tech, mega lords who would be building these systems, these digital wallets, these things like that. So there's someone in his orbit, or many people in his orbit, who would get filthy rich. Of this.
Well, you're making the reference to the executive order from today, right?
Oh, there's another one today.
Oh, there's an executive order that went out today, and crypto is going to be housed here. There's a huge order that went out today.
Crap.
Yeah, making it so that America will be the place of crypto. That went out this morning at like 6 a.m.
Oh, in this cryptic strategic reserve. Oh, wow.
Yep, that went out today. I keep up. I use Ground News. Hey, Ground News. Please sponsor us. So
we love you, Ground News.
Right? They're awesome. Like you actually can go inside Ground News and it will tell you the biases and how factual it is. Like it's a really good news source. It's pretty much all I read anymore because it tells you where everything's coming from and how factual the story is and whether it has a bias. It usually has a bias. Not all of them do, but you can see which direction it goes in. And obviously, them being who they are, they're unbiased about it because they're trying to tell you what the bias is. So,
all right, we pour this beer before we hit the next one.
Brings us to our next beer.
Cheers.
So, cheers. So we're going with a black and tan type of theme. So now we're switching over to Guinness, the biggest beer in Ireland.
I've always loved their bottle.
Oh my Lord, I love Guinness in general. Always been. If there's one beer I was forced to drink for the rest of my life, it would be Guinness.
Once the Guinness is out, the podcast gets real good.
Oh my Lord, it's the chocolate milk of beer.
Have you guys had the non-alcoholic version?
I have.
You have?
What? I have.
Does it taste the same?
Dude, you'd be hard pressed to know that it's not non-alcoholic.
Dang,
it's tasty good.
I saw it the other day in the store, and that was the first time I saw it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I just want to knock it over.
We'll do an episode with a blind taste test.
Oh wow,
that'd be fun.
Yeah. Because it's that good. Like it's that good. Love Guinness. Guinness, we love you.
Please sponsor us too. All right, Gumby, we gotta have you pick another one. We've got DI, transgender, Doge, in vitro, border security, religious liberty, Israel, English.
All right, time to be a little controversial, not too controversial. Let's try the transgender one.
All right.
Ooh, going deep.
So let me get the right executive order here. There's like, I accidentally picked two of them, so I need to make sure I pick the right one here. Okay, here we go. This is a great, big, long, like you can just hear Trump screaming this title on Truth Social. Defending women from gender ideology, extremism, and restoring biological truth to the federal government.
That's a long title.
Yeah. Where in the Bible is that?
I would definitely. Oh, I'm sorry. Gumby, you go. It's your turn.
Well, let's see. I mean, I don't know, Aaron. I'll let you sub in for this one. I got a couple ideas, but I don't know if they're actually accurate because they're my viewpoints from movies I remember seeing.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What movies?
Well, The Passion being one of them.
Okay.
That's a great movie. Yeah.
You know, the scene with like Herod.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate a lot of those things.
Passion was pretty accurate. It was,
Okay.
yeah. Like I mean, hats off to Gibson, man. He did a really nice job on that. That was very well done.
Yeah. I just don't know how extreme maybe Hollywood tried to portray something to be when it wasn't that. So it's for me, it's hard to just pick that out of the Bible.
Okay. I mean, as badly as he was beaten, or?
Well, no. I mean, like the people that supposedly Herod surrounded himself with.
Oh, gotcha.
And the implication that was behind that. And
I can tell you, I know what some of the Roman writings were.
Or even Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Like, because we know what the evangelical fundamentalist view of that was, that everything kind of goes there. So I don't know, maybe around there.
I mean, you just had me thinking, like, I could imagine Paul referencing this in some like weird way that where everybody would debate the words for the next 2,000 years.
Yeah, he does make it some references to some of that. Yeah.
But where would you go?
I would again, because this is kind of a hard one. And hard laws, I used to go back to Leviticus. I'll be honest. I usually go back to Leviticus when it comes to hard laws.
Okay.
Because in the New Testament, it's teachings.
Mm-hmm.
In the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, it's laws. So when it comes to something like this, I would definitely defer back to Torah. How about you?
Oh, I just was saying the Paul thing.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's read it. And the Lord spake unto his people, saying, Hearken, ye children of the land, for the Lord hath seen the rise of Jezebels, who deny the truth of creation. Oh, by the way, when I gave this prompt, I told it to reference Jezebels.
Nice.
They use cunning and deceitful means to permit men to enter spaces meant for women, from shelters of refuge to places of labor. This is an abomination. The Lord created them male and female, and these efforts to erase the truth of sex are an affront to the dignity, safety, and well-being of women. This attack on the truth corrupteth not only women, but the very fabric of the land. The Jezebels seek to replace the immutable reality of sex with a fluid and false sense of self. They endeavor to transform laws meant to protect women into instruments of harm. The Lord shall defend the rights of women and protect the freedom of conscience. Thus the Lord commanded that the Secretary of Health to declare within 30 days the guidance on sex-based definitions, making them clear unto all the land. Every agency and servant of the Lord shall enforce the laws that uphold the distinctions of male and female. They shall use the true terms, sex, male, female, men, women, boys, and girls, in all matters of governance. When rendering justice or policy, all servants shall use the term sex and not gender. When government records and identification shall reflect the true sex as created by the Lord, agencies shall purge all deceitful messages and forms that speak of gender ideology. They shall remove such falsehoods and end the funding of these ideologies. The Attorney General and the Secretary of Security shall ensure that no male is housed in the dwellings of women. They shall amend laws and policies to protect the sanctity of women's spaces. The Secretary of Housing shall revoke the rule that allows men into shelters meant for women and shall create policies to protect those seeking refuge. The Attorney General shall align prison policies with these truths and cease all funding for procedures that alter one's appearance to the opposite sex. Agencies shall ensure that spaces designated for women, girls, or females, and for men, boys, or males are based on sex and not identity. The Attorney General shall issue decrees to protect the right to speak the truth of sex and the right to single-sex spaces. He shall prioritize the enforcement of these rights against the Jezebels. And thus spake the Lord, defending the truth of creation and the dignity of his people. And so it was written, and so it shall be done.
Oh, you picked a rough one, Gabby.
So saith the Lord.
Ouch.
Woo.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
I had a thought.
Well,
I'll let you guys go first.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I feel pretty moderate to the right on the issue.
So here's where I'm a little bit ambiguous, because when it comes to anybody who is of youth, I don't think it should be touched. I think that youth needs to be protected, and there's nothing that takes place until somebody's an adult. So I think I think it's almost criminal to allow anything in youth. And that's been proven all around the world. I mean, Finland, Sweden did some great jobs on this, talking about how a lot of these things either resolve themselves or just wait till they're adults and then they can do it themselves. On the adult side, when it comes to politics, I'm very libertarian. So I don't care if you tell me you're a house or a goat. Okay. Technically, according to our Constitution, you should have the right to call yourself whatever you want. Okay. So, as far as being an American, I'm very libertarian. I think you should have sovereign personal rights. You can do whatever you want as long as you're not harming somebody else. I don't care. However, I think that youth needs to be protected. So I don't think it is right to harm youth medically. But if you're an adult and you've made that decision as an adult, that's on you.
So, full disclosure, I have not been keeping up with all his executive orders. What specifically did this one state?
So this is the one, basically, like, if the government references, this is at least the way it's been interpreted, anywhere the government references trans people, erase it. So, like, for instance, there's the Stonewall Memorial, which there were trans people at Stonewall, trying to stand up for LGBTQ rights back in the 60s. They literally went on the website and did like find replace the word trans and just took it out. Like and I think they even took out like the person, famous transgender person who was like a notable at Stonewall, and they took their their reference off of whatever website it was on. So there's been I think there's even one where like just the word trans was like somewhere completely unrelated to transgender, and like the big find replace in the government just took it out. So you're not allowed to acknowledge transgender people in the government, basically, is what it's saying. And like often it specifically refers to like, well, federal buildings, you can't, you have to make sure only biological males and biological females go into the respective bathrooms. You can't support people who have transitioned in the military. I think there's actually later a separate order that's banning transgender folks from the military.
Okay.
So basically, I mean, considering the small number of people, I think the greater subtext is it as a society, it's become pretty popular to scapegoat transgender people, especially when we talk about, like, say, transgender youth in sports, for instance. Like, there are way more like laws passed regularly prohibiting transgender women in women's sports than there are actual women registered to play them.
Right.
Like at one point, I remember there was like 5 bills in the Ohio General Assembly, and there was one transgender girl.
Okay.
The entire apparatus of government going after one kid.
Yeah.
So the greater subtext of this, though, because of course, like those other ones where it's saying, hey, I want to do these things for the federal government. I also want, like it's saying, I want society to do these things. So a lot of businesses, universities, anything that accepts federal funding, especially, has been complying in advance. So as we're talking about OSU, I mentioned OSU earlier. They had, and this is actually partially related to the diversity, equity, inclusion thing. They had fired those people. They, were removing transgender references, I think. Actually, a really notable one, funny one, I feel like this was actually malicious compliance. There was a story coming out of University of Cincinnati last week, and they replaced the bathroom signs from men, women, and they put up new signs that said biological men, biological women, like the word biological. So the university went nuts. These signs were immediately vandalized. I feel it's weird that nobody else has referenced this, but I feel dead convinced that it was some lower level staffer doing malicious compliance, being like, I'm just going to literally put biological male, biological female, because it's just going to make everybody so mad. I'll just be like, well, that's what you guys asked for.
Well, I see it as a slippery slope. And again, this is why I want to protect individual sovereign rights. Because once you slip down this slope, what's to say that, oh, well, now we're not going to acknowledge Islamic people. Now we're not going to acknowledge, Mennonites. Now we're not going to acknowledge. So how far do you take that? And so that's why I really think that, hey, if you're an adult, as long as you're not harming somebody, in our country, we should really have sovereign rights on what we do in our life, as long as you're not harming anybody else. Because once you don't have that, you're slipping towards an authoritarian government that can tell you what you are. And I don't like that idea. So it's a very slippery slope. And in some countries, it's led to full communism and everything else. So, yeah, there's my 2 cents.
Interesting.
Forgot about it. That's about that. Now, I guess the one thing I would say is I feel like, so that, part of the gateway to this has been like the specter of like youth transition. and it's virtually non-existent even before there were laws prohibiting it. Most gender, to the extent that there were gender corrective surgeries in any recent time, it would be in the case where you actually have like intersex people where you actually need to like correct something in youth in order for that person to be able to like grow up and not be significantly harmed. And the most that has happened prior to the age of 18 has been puberty blockers, which have been shown safe and reversible.
Depending on which country you talk to. again, there was a full medical study in Finland and Sweden that actually opposed that research and showed that it also prevented things like the absorption of calcium. So it may cause harm even when it's not causing direct harm. So I mean, there are some studies that go into that.
For me, I feel like it is an issuance of like, how much say-so should the federal government have? Because there's going to be another Democratic president after Trump, right?
Obviously.
Whether Trump gets... Well, he can't have another term.
There's people who are trying, though.
But my point is that, and then, as a country, some of the federal policies are going to swing back to the left again. We're going to see more of a push towards that way.
Inevitably.
I know it's going to happen. And then after that, once it swings back to the right, we're going to try to undo that and, go back down this road again. I just think that's the reality of what our system is.
Yeah.
I wonder about this. This issue is interesting, though, because you've seen a lot of liberal institutions really throw trans people under the bus. And I think a lot of it is like post-election flailing where they're trying to like find... Yeah. Like the New York Times, for instance. The New York Times has probably done more work to like endanger and like reduce the rights of trans folks than actual like far right institutions, because it does it under the guise of being a liberal democratic institution. The New York Times gives like tons of space to anti-trans voices under the guise of this is a mainstream news source.
That's interesting.
And likewise, there's been a lot of like some people call it like the Pod Save America crowd, where it's like the normie liberals, like the folks who are like Obama staffers and stuff like that. There's been a lot of like, hey, we need to tone it down on gender ideology. When actually what happened was that the Republicans put out ads that said the Democrats were going all in on gender ideology. And so now that causes the Democrats to say, we have to tone it down. It wasn't actually like Biden actually like did some things that were not great for trans rights.
Biden did a lot of things that weren't great for a lot of things.
Biden probably still thinks he's president, so
he probably does. He's in his basement, with his presidential hat on.
He can stay in his basement. I mean, he's 80. What 80? I forgot his age, but it was 80 a lot.
80 a lot.
All right, we should hit up. All right, we got Aaron next. We've got what's left on the board here. We've got I can barely read anymore. Oh, DEI, Doge, in vitro, border security, religious liberty, Israel, and English.
I gotta hit Doge.
All right, that's a great one.
I gotta hit this.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you did. Let me find this one here. Let's see, text, paper, straw. Oh, I did that one. Where is Doge? Government efficiency. Here we go. This is a mouthful too. Ensuring lawful governance and implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency Deregulatory Initiative. Where in the Bible is that?
Ooh. You know what? I'm actually going to venture out and say it would probably be in the New Testament, and I would put it underneath Herod's rule.
Oh, that's where my mind was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Herod would be the one to do something like this.
Yeah, the census.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Perfect. So when I was prompting ChatGPT, I actually went for, I could have gone with that. I probably should have gone with that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about Elon Musk and this like ultimate arbiter of everything. Like this stays, this goes. And so I was thinking about Solomon. I was thinking about splitting the baby.
Okay, I can see that.
So I asked it to go for some, First, Second Kings, Solomon type stuff.
Okay.
Here we go. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. The Lord spake unto the people, saying, it is the purpose of my reign to end the overreach and burdens of the many laws and commands placed upon you. Verily, we shall focus on those that are in accordance with the true statutes given unto us. Thus saith the Lord, let the chiefs of all agencies with the guidance of the order of Solomon. Well, that's right. I said call Doge the order of Solomon. And the keeper of the treasury review all decrees and commands within their charge. In 60 days they shall identify those that are unjust, overbearing, or contrary to the national interest. The Lord commanded that they seek out regulations that are grievous and against the spirit of the law, including those that grant powers not given by the Most High, that are built upon false pretenses, that touch on matters of great social and economic import without clear authority, that place heavy burdens on the people without good cause, that hinder innovation, build walls against development, prevent responses to disasters, cause the land to language, stifle research, and bring low the prosperity of the people, and that burden the small merchants and tradesmen. The chief shall lay these matters before the order of Solomon within the days appointed, so that the path may be drawn to remove or amend these heavy burdens. In the course of fulfilling their duties, the enforcers of the land shall not spend their strength upon upholding unjust commands, but shall preserve their energies for that which is lawful and beneficial. They shall lay aside enforcement actions that go beyond the rightful powers of their office. The Lord spake further, saying, new regulations shall be considered with the wisdom of the order of Solomon, ensuring that they align with the principles laid out in this decree. The keeper of the treasury shall provide guidance on how to enact these changes, ensuring that all steps are taken in harmony with the law and the resources available. These words are true and just, so that the land may have peace, and its people live in the light of equity and justice. No false authority shall be given power, and none shall suffer undue burden. If any of these decrees is found wanting, it shall be not cast down the whole, for the remainder shall stand firm. Therefore let these commands be carried out faithfully and with wisdom, for they are given for the good of the people and the glory of the Lord. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity. Wait, what did it do? What profit a man hath? You know, I mentioned Ecclesiastes in the prompts. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he has taken under the sun? Let these decrees bring forth the true justice and light unto the people. Thus spoke the Lord.
Save the Lord.
That's where it put in Ecclesiastes. Now I remember.
Nice.
Oh man, so what the heck is Doge?
So Doge is Elon's task force to go through the treasury and find all of the overspending in the government. That's what they're supposed to be doing. I don't like this idea because this is not an elected group. They're not under the control of the government themselves. They're an advisory team, but they have access to everybody's social security numbers.
If you're an advisory team, you should not have root on the computer.
right. I hate the idea of people looking at our personal information. I absolutely hate it, especially since you can't hold them accountable because they don't work for the government. So I don't want people looking at my social security information. I don't want people looking, if you don't work for the government and I can't hold you accountable, I don't want you looking at my retirement funds, right? So yeah, I hate that idea. I hate it.
So Trump commissioned this?
Yes. So it came out right after the election that he was going to appoint Musk and at the time Vivek Ramaswamy as the heads of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, or the first meme agency, as we could call it. And then later, Vivek and Musk clearly clashed because Vivek was gone within like 2 weeks. And now I guess is he officially running for Ohio governor, I think? I think that's true.
I heard rumors.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. So God help us all. But so yeah, it's technically under the Office of Personnel Management. Like you hear the acronym OPM, that's where the decrees are coming from technically. But they've actually been cagey about who's running it because Elon is the voice of it. Like basically, he's going on X and he'll say, "Oh, I deleted this agency today," and he has no authority to do that. So technically, behind the scenes, someone has to say it's okay, or really, it's just a bunch of tech. Like he's hiring these like 19-year-old like hackers to like go do this for them. The one got like doxxed kind of because he was actually like a Nazi online. And then there's Big Balls. Big Balls was another guy. He's actually the nickname Big Balls. Yeah. So there's a 19-year-old named Big Balls. That's his who was looking at our social security numbers in the government.
And you can't say anything to him, right?
No. Because that would be a threat.
Right.
So it's like Elon's running it, but they are not allowed to say Elon's running it.
Right.
Because anybody who would be part of the cabinet or be in a major position like he would have to be confirmed by the Senate. And that's not going to happen. Well, maybe it would actually. The Senate's a bunch of pushovers. But
yeah, but here's the thing. If you're in those positions, you should be in elected positions.
Right.
Because you should be answering to the people. Last I checked, this country was for the people, by the people. And that's not what's happening right now.
Yeah. So this is why everybody's like egging Teslas and protesting at Tesla dealerships.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
It's not because of the damn Tesla truck.
Yeah.
It looks like a Minecraft vehicle. It's like crap.
and my thing is how like uncareful, imprecise. Like if you just like delete this agency and assume it does nothing. So like he actually was saying in front, I think it was the meeting where Elon was meeting with the cabinet, and he actually casually said, "Oh, we accidentally removed Ebola monitoring, but we fixed it later." Like Ebola's bad.
Oh yeah. Did you see the one where they actually fired like over half the people from the Department of Power, and then they realized afterwards they fired everybody in charge of nuclear power and arms.
Whoops, whoopsie doo.
And then they had to scramble for hours to figure out who they were to rehire them back in. It's like, maybe you should have researched that beforehand.
Wasn't there something about that? Like, so there was something actually like mid-transit at the time when they got fired and they didn't know where to put it.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So, and like, you know, this is where like a lot, I know that there's been a lot of firings, of course, that have come from this, where it's technically OPM that is firing, but these have come from like basically Elon Musk tweets that he's deleting this agency and then a bunch of people get fired. So like they've started with anybody who was like hired within the last year because they have, or 6 months or a year or something, because they have less employment protections. They're not as protected by their unions.
Right.
But like that's where like a bunch of like national park staff, you know, have been fired. The NOAA, the national, you know, the folks who tell us if a hurricane or tornado is coming. Like it doesn't just come from the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel gets their data from the NOAA.
Right.
So the people, it was actually like a whole like group within that tries to detect that there's like a tsunami off the coast of Hawaii.
Yeah. Whenever you see NOAA, that's
yeah. So a lot of important stuff.
Oh my gosh.
It's just kind of going away. I mean, and like this is, you know, the subtext. This is like a official sounding, a sophisticated sounding way to just go into the government and break stuff.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You're like, we're saving all this money, but they're not actually showing where this money is coming from. It's like, are you actually saving that? Because we haven't seen the evidence of what you're saving. And on top of that, if you look at some of the things that they are getting rid of, they don't even know what they're getting rid of. Like they were like, oh, we're getting rid of Reuters. We're paying Reuters way too much. Except that people found out later they're not paying Reuters. It was a foundation they were paying. It was like JM Reuters or something like that. It was actually a foundation.
Oh,
like
they just looked at the name.
Yeah. Like, oh, we're paying Politico way too much money. We don't need to pay for a magazine. But they weren't paying for the Politico magazine. They're paying for the software that Politico uses, so you can in live watch all the tallies for every vote across the country as it's happening. Oh no, we don't. So there's all these things that they're getting rid of. They don't even know what they're doing when they're getting rid of them.
And a lot of it's that find and replace again. Like this kind of shows up in the DEI executive order as well, where they kind of take the word and they just try to take it out of everything. Like I was reading today about how the word inclusion. It was inclusive was inside this program to replant trees in New Orleans after the hurricane, because like all the trees go away, you have like serious erosion. You know, it's already underwater. It's kind of below sea level. So like, oh, we need to stop DEI initiatives, so we just stop planting these. Like we stop replacing like the important vital fauna in flora in New Orleans after the hurricane.
Yeah, because it had the word inclusion.
Yeah.
So this is like when you said earlier, when these solar flares hit, we have no idea what the heck happened. Well, what happened? Well, we fired those people who would typically warn us.
To quote Battlestar Galactica,
so something like that.
We're fracked.
Yeah.
Well, how in the world do they even have legitimacy?
That's a really good question, because they were not elected to that position.
No. They went in and took it.
Why isn't there an uproar within our Congress and within the House?
There's uproars all over the place right now over this.
So there's a lot of Republicans going back to deep blue areas, the ones that are holding town halls. Now, after a few of these happened, like Republican leadership told Republicans to stop holding town halls. But you can find a ton of videos right now where like someone will go into their like 80% voted for Trump like district, and they'll just absolutely get shouted down because it's like a bunch of people who've lost their jobs. And and then they're like, oh, but it's great, we got to cut the government, and then they run away, usually like early, and then
That came out yesterday, by the way. Right now, currently, we have the highest amount of people filing for unpaid leave right now to get unpaid tax benefit or payment benefits in between jobs. It's the highest right now than it's been in like years.
So eventually this is gonna hit the stock market a little bit, but eventually this is gonna hit the broader economy. Like,
Oh yeah,
a few job reports in, this is not gonna look very good.
yeah. No, it's already not looking good.
It doesn't seem like it's meant to.
Yeah.
No, oh yeah. This was what they were talking about, like when Elon Musk said that there will be some pain at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump said the same thing.
Man.
All right, that's
Next.
good. Yeah, what's we got? Okay, so I got to pick one. I got DEI, in vitro border security. Or the border security, I think, from a biblical perspective, is kind of interesting. So let's go for that one. And that one is, what was it called? Oh, where was it? I can't find it.
Uh-oh.
Ensuring President's Department. Nope, that's not that one. Ending taxpayer subsidization of open borders. Here we go. So this could be another, like, maybe not. Well, I don't know. It would be Herod. This feels like actually like post what's that thing called when they like the kind of diet, like before Maccabees.
Oh.
Like when they all had to like go into like Persia or whatever.
Oh, you mean the why is it escaping me?
I know, isn't it weird? Like, I should
Yeah.
know this.
It was when the Jews were
Diaspora?
so after
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, diaspora. So after Alexander the Great,
Yeah.
and the Ptolemies and the Seleucids.
Well, actually, I was thinking about before that, so maybe it is a different word, but we'll go with that. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because the kingdom separated,
Right.
and the Seleucids took them in one direction and did not like them, and the Ptolemies were far more tolerant and took them down. So yeah.
So this is the one where I actually had it reference Leviticus 1934, and it did a pretty good job, or a pretty bad job, depending on your perspective.
Okay.
And the Lord spake unto his people, saying, the strangers who sojourn among you must be treated as your native born, and love them as yourselves. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Yet the plain text of the law commandeth that strangers who enter unlawfully shall not partake of the resources set aside for the children of the land. Over the years, many rulers have turned aside from this commandment, permitting the expenditure of people's wealth upon those who have entered unlawfully. The prior administration in particular did undermine the goals of the law, leading to the misuse of hard-earned resources. Thus the Lord saith, let us uphold the rule of law and protect the benefits for those who are truly in need, including the disabled and the veterans of the land, to ensure that the resources of the land do not become a lure for unlawful entry, and to preserve the bounty for lawful inhabitants. The chief of all tribes and clans shall, 1, identify all programs that permit the sharing of resources with those who have entered unlawfully and align them with the purpose of this decree. 2, ensure the distribution of resources to cities and towns does not encourage or facilitate unlawful energy. And 3, enhance the systems that verify eligibility, ensuring that only lawful and needy receive the benefits of the land. Within 30 days, the wise men of the court, in coordination with the keepers of the treasury, shall identify all resources of aid given those who have entered unlawfully, recommend actions to better align the distribution of resources with the purpose of this decree, and to strengthen the verification of eligibility. Any improper receipt of benefits shall be referred to the enforcers of the law for appropriate action. Let these words be true and just for the good of the people, in the accordance with the will of the Lord. Thus spake the Lord.
Say the Lord.
So this one's referring very specifically to sanctuary cities.
Yeah.
So cities that do not enforce or cooperate with ICE.
Right. Now, in the
Hmm.
Old Testament, there was sanctuary cities.
Oh,
As
interesting.
So there was what's called sanctuary cities in the Old Testament that were deemed there through Leviticus. Let's say yet you accidentally killed your coworker in the field. Okay. Well, you could run to one of these sanctuary cities, and then they would protect you until your trial.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, so in the Old Testament there was sanctuary cities, and then you obviously had to flee very quickly to one of these. Say no, it was an accident. But then they would do an investigation and they would try to figure out if you were at fault.
Yeah.
So, but that very much is a very biblical contextualization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a modern country in the Middle East today who's still a sanctuary. So that's probably another subject on your paper.
Oh yeah, that's coming very soon. Yeah. Oh, what was I was thinking about something about this. I mean, I guess just that like some of this happens a lot at the state level where.
Okay.
They'll be there. They'll like, oh, well, you can elect your own people. You can have home rule, as we call it. So you can, within your own matters that matter to you, you can do things as you please. So like you can choose as much as you want to if you want to turn your police into immigration Gestapo or not. But then people who want to enforce these things from on high come in like anytime like Cleveland says like, oh, I want to do this thing. Like I want to like not have plastic bags or something like that. Okay. Typically like the state of Ohio will be like, no, we're going to take that rule away from them. We're going to make a law that says that cities can't say whether or not they can have plastic bags.
And they came back.
Yep, exactly. So this is a lot of like, you can have home rule until you offend us. Oh, I know what I was going to mention here. Eric Adams. This is all about Eric Adams.
Okay.
So
New York.
The New York mayor. So, he had that whole, I forget what exactly he was charged with. He was charged with pretty bad things that should generally take down a mayor. And he basically kind of like was quid pro quo with the Trump Justice Department to drop the charges if he would cooperate with immigration and foreign enforcement.
Yeah.
And removing undocumented immigrants from a city. So
no conflict of interest.
No conflict of interest at all. Like, oh, you don't prosecute me, and then I will make sure I will help you deport all these people.
Yep.
That's politics.
That's politics.
Yeah. I think the bigger subtext of all this, that I mean, more than immigration, is just the fact that like New York politics, like from a liberal Democrat perspective, New York politics are absolutely a dumpster fire. They are holding back the entire nation.
When hasn't New York politics?
Yeah, and actually, that's right. When you go back and read the history, this is like a problem well over a century old.
Oh yeah.
Where no matter what party you're in, like New York is going to screw you over.
Did you ever watch Gangs of New York?
Like, so this whole Eric Adams thing, he's not going to get elected, but the governor, Kathy Hochul, has the right under New York law to remove him because he's totally ineffective now. He's hosed, and obviously he's corrupt, but she decided she's not going to do it because she doesn't want to offend people or whatever. And so who's coming in this vacuum of power? Andrew freaking Cuomo.
I saw that he's back.
Like their governor who resigned in disgrace because of what? Sex scandals.
Yep. He's the older
COVID
one,
nurse.
right?
Yeah.
The older brother, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no matter what happens, no matter how hard you work to get the guy out because he's a piece of trash, New York City is going to elect another piece of trash.
Yep.
Select. Yeah. Potato. He's so slimy, though.
Oh, he's very New York.
I mean, he's almost presidential, though. So let's be honest.
You're not far. I would not be surprised to see him run.
Oh, that would be pure hell. And this goes like, I mean, so a lot of Democrats are really angry right now. Like, as bad as it looks on the Republican side, Democrats are so much more down on their own party right now. It's insane. Yeah. And a big part of that is like the leadership or lack thereof from Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. And they are very much the like, kumbaya, let's do some bipartisanship. Yeah. Like, I'll put out a mildly worded statement. Whereas like folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are like going to like OPM and like trying to like stand in the doorway and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time in politics. I mean, I read through stuff every day and I'm like, this is like reading through like one of those storybooks. It doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
It's Ready Player 3.
Yeah. All right. Peaks and Player 3. We're back to Gumby. DEI, in vitro, religious liberty, Israel, or English.
I mean, I wanted to segue into Israel with that last one, but I'll be nice. Let's do in vitro.
All right.
Because I'm
that's probably
curious
also
by that.
Oh, are you?
I haven't been keeping up with any of these.
Well, it's interesting.
Because I've been choosing to stay happy and positive.
I will wait to comment.
Okay. All right.
All right. Oh, so okay. So the name is very simple. Expanding access to in vitro fertilization. Where is that in the Bible?
That's simple.
Oh, wow. Is it?
I mean, there's definitely insemination.
Are we thinking about
Actually, I
you
could.
talking about the virgin birth?
No, I could throw a different one out there, but go ahead.
I don't know now.
I actually could take one for this one.
Go ahead. Go.
Okay, on this one, I would actually go back to when the Israelites were allowed to take over a city, wipe all the males, and
oh my God,
and then marry all the females into the family.
Yeah, that's all in Deuteronomy and Leviticus.
Yeah. So it's actually also
it's a Joshua.
Parts of it are the book of Joshua. Yep.
Yeah.
So man, I forgot about that one. So when I was prompting ChatGPT, I was thinking about Abraham and Sarah and Hagar, and I was thinking about like, oh, you can't have a kid, just
that's a good one too.
Bring your woman servant in here.
That's a good one too.
So I asked it to frame things slightly in that way.
Gosh, man.
And the Lord spake unto Abraham, saying, Hearken unto my words, for many hopeful couples in the land dream of a family, yet as many as 1 in 7 find themselves unable to conceive. Their hearts are heavy with longing, and their struggles turn joy to sorrow and hope to burden. Just as Sarah, barren and unable to bear a child, granted Abraham her handmaid Hagar, that he might have an heir, so it is commanded that a way shall be made for couples facing infertility. This way, known as IVF, shall be a means of hope for them, just as Hagar was to Abraham. The Lord hath seen the importance of family and desires to ease the path for loving parents. The cost of this way is great, yet it must be made affordable, that the path to parenthood may be open to all. Thus the Lord commandeth that his wise men shall lay forth recommendations within 90 days to protect access to this way and lessen the financial strain upon hopeful parents. These commands are given not to impair the authority of any office or diminish the budget of the land, but to align with the just and rightful statutes. Let these words be true and just, to bring forth the light of hope to people, as Hagar brought forth Ishmael unto Abraham. The promises of the Lord shall be fulfilled, and families shall flourish in joy and abundance. Thus spake the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
Wow, that really worked out. Thankfully, there's no conflicts between that.
No, not at all.
I mean, that just really worked out in the long run, right?
No problem whatsoever.
Yeah. Wow. This is one big happy family.
Yeah.
Kumbaya. That was a big kumbaya moment there. Yeah, well, there you go. That problem kind of speaks for itself from there.
Right? So he did push that out. I'm a little back and forth in this one. Now the Pope actually, I spoke on this. He's church teaching is against IVF, and it's actually because of it's actually because of the harm that's done behind the scenes to get to that point where it's actually beneficial. There's a lot they don't talk about behind the scenes, and that's actually why the church is against it. It's not so much that it's because of a pregnancy. It's because of everything that happens in the background to make that pregnancy happen. There's actually a lot of stuff. We can actually do a whole episode on IVF. We should actually do a whole episode on IVF.
Interesting.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, because there's a lot to it, and there's a reason why the church is against it. It's not because they don't want to see people get pregnant. They love kids. they love really big families. But there is definitely a lot of stuff at play. Yeah, we could definitely spend a whole episode on this one. So yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
This one in particular is like the executive order is like giving at least lip service to a campaign promise to make IVF free. It doesn't give a whole lot of commitments on how it would do that, because it's also talking about respecting the laws. And of course, the laws are soon going to involve a giant tax cut that's probably not going to allow that. But also to save face or to prevent blowback from another state court trying to ban IVF. So there was it the Louisiana state court or Alabama? I think it was Alabama.
I think it was Alabama.
Yeah. So Alabama last year, in the heart of the presidential election, banned IVF briefly.
Yeah.
And the legislature had to step in to, fix that, because that was like serious blowback. Like it was a whole like, oh, we did this whole Roe v. Wade thing, or whatever the new one's called, overturning Roe v. Wade.
Mhm.
And now we're reaping the consequences of our achievement. And like courts are taking this literally and using it to say that it's prohibiting things that are broadly popular.
Right.
And so like they're like, we can't have that. Like, it's kind of like what they call like the dog catching the car.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't know what to do when it got there. So this is the part that's like it's damage control for that, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
But one thing we could actually cover in that IVF episode, we'll touch on a little bit. Humans are kind of hitting a saturation point population wise. It's interesting. So if you look around the world, different species do hit saturation points. And then what happens is they go down to the managing level. And it works out quite well all across all of nature. They hit that certain point and it goes down, and then it sits at that managing level. Humans are naturally doing that right now. Our population is going down quickly. Like they estimate that over the next generation, we'll go from 8 billion people down to 6 billion people. It's not really a problem if you think about it, because it actually puts resources back on par. And the reason why this is happening is because of good medical practice. Because now a family doesn't have to have 12 kids because 6 of them will die. Because medical technology has got a lot better. If you have 2 or 3 kids, they will probably live to adulthood and they will probably have kids. So because medical practice has got so much better, you don't need as large of a population.
Yeah. Bill Gates is on record with saying something similar.
Yeah, but the thing is that you don't even have to put parameters on that. It's just happening naturally because we've hit that level and our medical practice is so good. You don't have to have 15 or 18 kids because they're living. They're living healthy. I mean, our average lifespan has gone way up. So
interesting.
Yeah.
It is a very interesting topic.
Yeah. Yeah. We could probably parse that into the whole IVF thing.
Or eugenics.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah,
too.
we'll have to figure out a good umbrella topic here.
That would, oh my Lord, eugenics is a really good one too. That brings up a lot of middle, as I say, Renaissance and that era. We played a lot with the genetics, epigenetics, eugenics. There's a lot of that going on.
Sure.
All right. Aaron, you got to pick one here. We've got DEI, religious liberty, Israel, or English.
I'm going to pull a Gumby. I'm going to do Israel.
Uh-oh.
All right. I'm waiting for this one. So this one, okay, so the title doesn't hit you at the first strike here, but it is about that. Imposing sanctions on the International Criminal Court.
Oh. Okay. Interesting.
Where in the Bible is that?
Imposing sanctions on what?
The International Criminal Court.
International Criminal Court. I'm actually going to go back to the diaspora, like Gumby was saying, because that's when the kingdoms of the Jews were separated among the Seleucids and Ptolemies. I mean, I think that kind of fits.
Yeah, I buy that too, because you still got like connections here, but you're also got some splitting up.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. And the Lord spake. Oh, yeah. So I made this one. It's like the Lord speaking to Moses out of the burning bush.
Okay.
Yes. I forget what else. Oh, and I said that the Philistines are the International Criminal Court.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't match the timing, but whatever. And the Lord spake unto Moses from the burning bush, saying, Behold, I have seen an injustice wrought by the Philistines and their allies upon my chosen people Israel. The adversaries have risen up seeking. Oh, and I said that because it does mention Israel a lot in this order, and you can probably guess why.
I have no idea why.
And they the adversaries have risen up seeking to bring charges against Israel and against those who stand with them, including the land of America. The Philistines have asserted false authority and open investigations against my people without just cause. They have issued baseless accusations against Israel's leaders, even the prime minister and the minister of defense. But neither Israel nor America recognizes their dominion, for these nations are not bound by the decrees. The actions of the Philistines endanger the servants of the Lord, threatening them with harassment, abuse, and unjust imprisonment. This malign conduct seeks to undermine the sovereignty of the land and hinder the work of the Lord's people. The Lord saith, America and its allies shall stand firm against these false charges. The Lord's chosen people shall not be subject to the dominion of the Philistines, and their rights and freedoms shall be upheld. The Lord shall bring forth judgment against those who engage in these transactions. The property and assets shall be blocked, and their entry into the land shall be barred. The Philistines shall face tangible consequences for their actions. Thus the Lord declareth a state of emergency to protect his people and address this threat. The property and interests of those who engage in these actions against my people shall be blocked and dealt with according to this decree. The making of donations to those who have been found in transgression shall be prohibited, and all contributions from such persons shall be banned. The entry of those who meet the criteria of this decree, as well as their kin and the agents of the adversaries, shall be suspended. The Secretary of the Land shall ensure that these measures are implemented. Within 60 days, a report shall be submitted, blah, blah, blah. The Secretary of Treasury, in consultation with the Secretary of State, shall take all necessary action to implement this decree. All departments and agencies shall carry out these measures faithfully. Thus spake the Lord unto Moses to protect his people and bring judgment upon the Philistines. And so it was written and shall be done.
So say the Lord.
Well played.
Yeah, this one is about the International Criminal Court obviously charging the modern nation of Israel with things like war crimes,
Sure.
genocide, all that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on there.
That's your pick. Go ahead, brother.
Well, let's just say that I am not aligned with taking out another country in such a fashion, and I don't think that we need to have a Riviera in Gaza.
Oh God.
Which is actually what he calls it. He wants to create the Riviera on the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, they want to put resorts out there and condos and
I think
a little Vegas.
it's a
they want.
terrible idea. Here's the thing. It's going to cost us a lot of lives. Not just Palestinian. It'll cost a lot of American lives too. Because Palestinians are not going to give up their homeland.
Nope.
Which means that we have to send soldiers in, which means that soldiers will die. So why? Why do this? And then, of course, there's the whole manifest destiny idea of it, right? Where you're going in because obviously it's foreseen to take it over, you know. And I hate that idea. I mean, there's never been a time in history when manifest destiny was a good thing. Like, never. I mean,
Yep.
Look at the history of our country. Manifest destiny. I mean, how many indigenous cultures we wiped out across America because of our rights to the country. It's just it's never been a good thing, and I think it's an awful thing. It's going to cost culture. It's going to cost lives. It's going to cost dignity. You know, it's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
This had me thinking. I was trying to remember the name of it, but right after the Riviera comments, the group Arab Americans for Trump announced that they were changing their name to Arab Americans for Peace.
Oh, there you go. There you
go. And I don't want to throw too much shade at them because they were this impossible choice of basically choosing between two regimes that would do the same, pretty much the same terrible things. Now, of course, one wasn't promising to raise it and put up a resort.
Right.
But there is this lot of it does feel like there's this lot of oh crap, what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, to the core issue of, trying to sanction international laws. And I mean, these guys are like warlords, and they were recognized by most of the countries of the civilized world as such. But they're so thuggish in how they operate and intimidating because, they have U.S. support that, well, I mean, I know I agree in principle with what happens, but if they come to our country, we're not going to arrest them. We're not going to enforce the laws that we all are, a part of by the Rome Statute, that we adhere to.
Yeah.
So when the laws can mean anything, they mean nothing.
Agreed. Yeah.
So yeah, these guys are just thugs. Trump is right in there with them.
Yeah.
And
did you watch that press conference with him and Netanyahu?
I couldn't stomach it.
It's disheartening to say the least. It's disheartening. It's as they're speaking, I could literally see our pioneers in this country talking about how we're going to take over the lands of the indigenous peoples and why it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
And I mean, in a nutshell, that's all that really is going on there. It's like one of the last really modern examples we have of colonialism and imperialism.
And it's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's just nothing good about it. But on the issue of, like safe cities and all of that, sanctuaries and all of that,
yeah,
it is interesting because I wanted to bring this up earlier. Like when we have criminals in this country of who have maybe dual citizenship, they commit a crime here, they can run and fly over to the state of Israel and find sanctuary. It happens all the time. One of the biggest cases that we've had was the international spy that we had here who was an American citizen, Jonathan Pollard, who stole American nuclear secrets and was selling it. And he was seeking safe harbor to Israel.
Oh.
And he actually flew over there. But then we went over there, I think our FBI, and brought him back. But he was trying to get over there to Israel because, he claimed that, that's where he's from and he should have refuge there. But other people of, I won't just say Jewish origin, but I would say Israeli citizenship too. What's that actor? Roman Polanski?
Yeah.
Who was a pedophile?
Yeah.
Same thing with him. Meyer Lansky, one of the world's most notorious gangsters, Mr. Chairman of the board, who was like an international casino mobster. Not a whole lot different than Trump.
True.
Same thing, seeking refuge in Israel.
Yeah.
So Israel has become a really big harbor for people like that.
Yeah.
On the international level.
And it's sad because the Jewish people that I know, I have dear students of mine who are Jewish. In fact, he's in Israel right now. And they hate that. They hate what's going on.
Yeah.
They see it as a bunch of just political, shenanigans, and they hate that. Like he told me, he's like, I speak Arabic. My friends are Arabic. He's like, we get along fine. He's like, it's all a bunch of political push and shove.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's not your everyday person. I'm talking about your organized crime syndicate.
Yeah, the actual organization.
As I say, like a lot of people in Israel don't agree with what their government is doing, just like our government.
No, they were
Exactly.
protesting to arrest Netanyahu.
Right?
There.
Yeah,
Sure.
And this was a strong signal that, like, if someone says that Israel or us are committing war crimes, we're going to ignore it.
His own country, Lithuania, who was a party to the Rome Statute, when they held the national Holocaust remembrance
that
they do every year, they were like, sorry, it's ironic that it's the Holocaust and you can't come here, but if you step foot here, we're going to have to arrest you. And I respect them for that.
Yeah.
But other countries like Poland or France are like, we're not going to really arrest you. We're going to tap your hand and say, naughty, you're a really bad
Maybe
boy.
this time
Mr.
you'll listen.
Yeah. Can't you just kill less Palestinians?
Oh, jeez.
It's just bad. It's bad. And shame on evangelicals for continuing to support it.
Which in a few moments, we will get to some protections for them. But lightning round, last round here. I'm going to take DEI off the board because I think you guys are staying away from it.
Touched on it. We could talk about it.
We did touch on it.
We did touch on it, so we'll go real quickly. But we have we had the transgender one, or gender one, and now we have the DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion one. This one's called Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI programs in preferencing. I have no idea where in the Bible this would be. Where do you think it would be, Aaron? A Bible expert.
DEI. Good Lord. What's the name of it again?
Ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing.
Good Lord. I'd say it sounds kind of like a Pauline teaching.
Maybe that was where I was going. I think I'm trying to remember what
I could probably see it as a Pauline teaching.
There was one of these I said, oh no, I must have done something else because I see a lot of Amorites and stuff like that in here. But there's one of them I said to do it like Paul. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Oh, I know. It's actually one of the next ones we haven't picked yet. Is one I said to do it. Paul.
Wait,
okay.
Shame on me, but I forgot one of the. It's diversity, inclusion. What's the E stand for?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Equity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, I was. I think I just said to write this one like Leviticus because I just had no freaking clue.
Okay.
So I think it actually took a lot of creative liberty. So let's hear what it says. The Lord spake unto his people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, by the power vested upon him, he doth decree to end the illegal and immoral programs of the Amorites, which they called diversity, equity, and inclusion. These abominations infiltrated all parts of the land, from the safety of the sky to the might of the army. This was a vile plot among the Amorites, bringing on their first day, as they did issue forth proclamations to advance their deeds. Verily, the Amorites compelled every agency to submit their plans to further this inequity, displaying great waste and shameful deeds before all the people. But behold, this day the Lord doth declare, Americans deserve a government that serveth each soul with equal dignity and respect, and expends its treasure to only make the land great. The Lord commandeth the director of the Office of Management and Budget, aided by the Attorney General and Director of Personnel, to cast out all such grievous programs from the government. The Director of Personnel shall examine and revise all employment practices, contracts, and training, to reward diligence, skill, and hard labor, and to never consider the wicked factors of the Amorites. Each chief of an agency, in consultation with the Attorney General, the Director of Office Management Budget, and the Director of Personnel, shall within 60 days accomplish these deeds. This is a bunch of... I think this is the one where I forgot to tell it to not reference any laws by name. But here we go. The Lord commandeth the assistant to the Lord for domestic policy to gather monthly with the leaders of these agencies to hear reports on the costs and prevalence of these wicked programs, discuss obstacles to compliance, and monitor progress in obeying the Lord's decree. These decrees are to be enacted following the law and with the existing appropriations, saith the Lord. Thus spake the Lord, issuing commandments to cleanse the government of the Amorites' wicked deeds, and to restore honor and dignity among the people. And so it was written and shall be done.
So saith the Lord.
So yeah, you're right. We did talk a lot about we touched on the DI, especially in the gender one. I just wanted to note that I feel like this current government is a lot of like DI, if like pejorative term use of the word DI initiatives for entitled white men.
Yeah, I feel like there's too much money going in that direction. It's like, ironically, they're trying to save the money from that, but they're spending more money trying to save us from it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of ironic because they're dumping all this money into not dumping the money. Yeah, there's a lot of irony in
It's
that.
the sloppy canceling of everything. They're like, let's just find the word in places and let's just cancel it. If it sounds vaguely like it, maybe, well, Elon only has like a minute to look at each program. He's got to make a snap to judgment, and he's got to cut it.
Yeah. And the thing is that there's so many things that we could pour money into that's better than just simply just canceling stuff to cancel stuff, because you're still pouring money into that as well. So maybe instead of just canceling everything, maybe figure out how to divert funds to help people.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
The government helping people.
But is there argument that the existing programs are using money or wasting money right now?
Sometimes. Other times they're signing up to Stein stuff, like changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. So yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes they're spending money to spend money. So it's so arbitrary. It's so freaking arbitrary.
This is about sending messages. I mean, I think it's actually becoming like, and I think the messages are stronger than I thought it would be, because it's being interpreted and implemented as kind of pretty explicitly racist stuff. Like, so, this has been the one that has had the most compliance in advance with all the other organizations and even like private companies like Target being like, okay, we're gonna get rid of our diversity, equity, inclusion efforts.
Yeah.
But in the government themselves, like they fired 2 of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and guess which 2? The black man and the woman.
Yeah, I saw that. And then the same thing happened over, believe it or not, at CBS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over at CBS, they fired 2 black anchors, and there's a bit of irony to that. And mind you, they fired the one, and the other one quit over it, so it's probably a quiet firing. But it's ironic because like they were actually notable, like people knew who they were. So
I want to remember back to like the first days when they when there was the plane crash in Washington over the Potomac, and Trump got on TV and he blamed it on DEI.
That was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like basically like they didn't even know if like anybody like involved was like a minority. Not that it would have mattered, but it was basically like the argument was that like an air traffic controller might be stressed out by the thought of working next to an underqualified black man or something like that, and that would cause a crash. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it was really weird. It's just really, really weird.
That's pretty wild.
There's no way anybody could have known the circumstances yet because they were still investigating it.
And also the wildfires, because the fire chief in LA is a lesbian, and so like they were all blaming like, oh look, you know, she's this DI hire and that's why they have wildfires. And there was this crazy congressional, I think it was a congressional hearing or maybe like a committee hearing, and they had a bunch of like people like in the chain of command like managing wildfires, and like this I presume a Democrat congressperson was asking them over, and they were like, were the wildfires caused by the fire chief being a lesbian? No. Were the fires caused by the fire chief being a lesbian? No. over to each one.
Could have,
Oh my god, that's crazy. All right, that's DEI. All right. Wait, Gumby's next one. Religious liberty or English?
Oh, religious liberty.
All right, I love this one. This one's fun. Okay, where is it? Okay, this is a very simple title. Eradicating anti-Christian bias. Where in the Bible is this?
Oh, geez.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Do you want one?
We always want one.
Okay. So that would actually go back to if I were to make it similar to something, I would say the eradication of the temple, because then right after that was the persecution of the Christians, and then there was the persecution of the Jews right after that. So under Nero. Now that's not directly referenced in stories of the Bible, but it is referenced in the book of Revelation in allegory. So,
yeah,
dig it.
I would definitely agree with that. Christians being, early in Acts and all of that.
So I don't know what I was going for here, but I thought like I was thinking about like Paul referencing persecution and stuff like that. So I was like, this is an Pauline epistle somewhere.
Okay.
So here we go. And I beheld, and the Lord spake, saying, "Oh wait, or did I say it was? No, did I say it was Revelation? Oh, nuts! Oh yes, I said it was Revelation actually.
There you go.
And I tried to ask it to, and it didn't quite do it right, but I tried to ask it to like position the persecution as if it was like prophecy, and then like the anti-bias commission was the fulfillment, like the second coming of the Lord.
Okay.
So it didn't quite do it, but we'll try it. And I beheld, and the Lord spake, saying, in the decree of the Lord to protect the faithful and to end the anti-Christian weaponization of the nations, the founders of this land established a place where all could freely practice their faith without fear. Yet in the days of the Antichrist and his minions, a great persecution arose. The law that protected religious liberty was forsaken, and the faithful were targeted. Peaceful Christians were brought low, and those who prayed outside places of death were imprisoned. Even the elderly and the innocent, like the Catholic priest and the aged grandmother, were cast into prison by the evil hand of the Antichrist. Catholic churches and charities cried out for justice, for they were attacked and their pleas were ignored. The house of the people condemned these vile acts, and yet the Antichrist turned a deaf ear. And in those days, a scroll from the Watchers declared that the faithful were enemies of the state. The grievous scroll was later retracted, but the damage was done. The wicked sought to remove protections from the faithful in places of learning, to force them to bow to idols of falsehood, and to drive them from places of care. The Antichrist declared a day of visibility on the holy day of resurrection, mocking the faith of the believers. And so the violence and vandalism against the faithful surged, with the churches and places of worship desecrated. The number of these evil acts grew manifold, but the Lord shall not tolerate this evil. His decree shall protect the faithful in their right to worship in peace. The Lord shall enforce his law and eradicate any conduct that targets his people. And behold, the Lord established a task force within the house of justice to eradicate anti-Christian bias. This task force shall act to review the deeds of all houses and identify any anti-Christian acts, revoke and terminate any policies and practices that harm the faithful, develop strategies to protect religious liberties, seek counsel from many, including those affected by anti-Christian acts and faith-based groups, and identify and remedy failures in law enforcement against anti-Christian hostility, recommend any further actions that need protected to protect religious liberty. These are the words of the Lord to protect his people and their faith, and so it was written and shall be done.
So saith the Lord.
I forgot to mention, too, I said any reference to Biden, because this one referenced Biden a lot. I said refer to Biden as the Antichrist.
Well, I was going to say, so Biden was the Antichrist.
This one went most into these various kind of Fox News type bugaboos where it actually one of the things it was referring to was the group of anti-abortion protesters who the one woman was found with a bunch of jars of jars of fetuses in her basement or whatever. I think we talked about her a few years ago, and which is also someone he pardoned recently too. So,
ouch.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's rough. Pick some good ones, Gumby.
Yeah.
Oh, is it mine?
That was yours.
Oh. Yeah, whoa. I mean.
AI almost did too good of a job with that one. I don't even know what's it about anymore.
Religious liberty.
Religious liberty.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's. Am I supposed to pick a reference in the Bible?
Oh, no, we already did that.
Okay.
We're just talking about it now.
Yeah. I do feel like, and maybe I'll use the Catholic Church as an example, is oftentimes they are made a scapegoat.
Okay.
Yeah, evangelicals, man, we hang ourselves sometimes, but so I do believe sometimes we become an easy target. And, and sometimes that gets misinterpreted as we're being persecuted, so to speak.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, so much of conservative politics has been fueled off the idea of a persecution complex against the majority religion in a country. And you can't, now that it's truly a lot of that policy behind that is ascendant, you can't lose the persecution complex. So I think this is about really continuing to emphasize that there's a big problem and we have to fix it.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because it's an ongoing theme among Christians is that we are the persecuted ones. And it's an ongoing theme. You can't say Merry Christmas. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I was like, yeah, but
you just said it.
Is that really true? Because I've never seen anybody persecuted for saying Merry Christmas, right? So there's definitely there's definitely a persecution complex.
Yeah, especially from the hard right, I would say, as much as we'd like to say, and I'm throwing myself in there as we, but, we would say, well, people who are really on the left or progressive or liberal love to use the victim card. But yet, Christians will often do that with the idea of, and this is kind of extreme in a sense, but the idea of being chosen, and always we have this eternal victimhood mentality.
Yeah.
Right? But yet, at the same time, we're okay with waging war on other countries.
Yep.
And doing what we do in other countries. And so you just don't get to use that card anymore.
No.
So, yeah, it's really a...
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've often brought that up because it's we are very pro-life until it comes to raiding a country.
Yeah. So the religious liberty thing, it's I don't really know. I mean, I do know some, there have been some real Christians, I believe, even in Palestine and Israel, who because there were Christians there too. It wasn't just Muslim. It's not just Jews who were being persecuted there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I can't remember the Baptist preacher there that was in Palestine, one of the oldest churches there. Would you guys over there stop? Would you please stop bombing us?
Right.
There are Christians here too.
Yeah.
Or the Catholic Church. I mean, the 2 nuns that got shot.
Yeah.
For no reason. I would call that persecution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, kids trying to go to school. That kind of thing. So that's just a whole other level. But
Maybe there could be a rule if you can talk you can only talk about your own persecution so long before we conclude that you're not persecuted because you're still alive.
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. It's a fine line here in America or in the West between privilege and persecution,
Yeah.
I feel.
I think it's a bit more uniquely American, honestly, because I've talked to European friends who are like, yeah, that's definitely not much of a thing over here. So it seems like the older Christian areas have kind of adjusted. It's more like the newer Christian areas that still are carrying around that big victim complex.
Remember that there was I don't know if they're still prominent, but there was that Catholic podcast network. They had Father Roderick. Remember hearing of Father Roderick?
Oh man,
I haven't listened to them in years.
I'll have to go back and listen.
There was this hilarious moment. Father Roderick is in the Netherlands, and I forget what they got onto something about healthcare, and it was talking about the American people were talking about kind of persecution in terms that our healthcare, allowed for contraceptive and stuff like that, and
okay,
that they had to pay for that was this injustice and this persecution, and Father Roderick said something to the effect of oh, my healthcare has just been provided by the government for years. I didn't think about it.
Right.
It was just totally okay, that was out of left field.
Yeah.
All right. English. You got English. Designating English as the official language of the United States.
Let's do it.
Any biblical verses that come to mind? There was one that came to mind for me.
Jeez. As far as language,
the Bible doesn't actually talk about the languages that are used in it very often.
yeah, the only place, right? we can read all the stories.
No less.
I mean, we saw it. It's all the begats and stuff in there. I would say if there was a time that you do that, it's actually during the Second Temple period, because that's really the hardcore transition away from using. I mean, it starts at diaspora, but it hardcore goes into that Second Temple period.
Oh
yeah, where you transition away from Hebrew and it's all Aramaic and Greek.
Yeah. See at some point be dang it, guys, you gotta speak Greek. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So I was thinking about the Tower of Babel, so I asked it to throw in some Tower of Babel stuff in here.
Oh, okay.
And the Lord spake unto his people, saying, from the days of old, when the nations sought to build a tower unto the heavens, their tongues were confounded, and they were scattered across the earth. In their confusion, they could no longer strive together. And so it was from the founding of our land, English hath been the tongue of our people. The sacred documents, the declaration, and the covenant of the land were inscribed in this tongue. Therefore it is decreed that English shall be declared the official language of the land. In welcoming the strangers who join our fold, the Lord saith, let them learn and adopt our tongue, that they may dwell with us in harmony and pursue their dreams. Speaking English shall open doors and help them engage in our community, partake in our traditions, and contribute to our society. This decree acknowledges and celebrates the tradition of those who have learned English and passed it to their children. It shall promote unity, cultivate a shared culture, ensure consistency in governance, and create a path to civic engagement. The Lord saith, let there be one and only one official tongue, for a shared language shall streamline communication, reinforce shared values, and create a cohesive and efficient society. Therefore it is decreed that English shall be the official language of the land. Thus spake the Lord, to unify his people and bring them together in one accord. And so it was written, so it shall be done.
Yeah. Say the Lord.
This one only came out yesterday.
America.
It did, yeah. I read that and I was like, so here's another one where we're dropping a bunch of money where we don't have to drop money.
Yeah, seriously.
Because have you ever been to a state that didn't speak English here in this country?
West Virginia?
All right. Outside of West Virginia.
Sorry. I didn't mean that.
I mean, the real purpose of this is like within. I don't know if they've restored it yet, but like within days of the administration taking over, they were removing like Spanish language pages from government websites. So like it was very much this assertion of like you better assimilate to like us specifically, like not just like America, which America is very multilingual, but us as the whatever they are.
It's true too. Like near West Side, we have a lot of Spanish speakers, right? But then if you go downtown, a large part of that is all Asian speakers, a lot of Chinese being spoken there. If you go over to Mayfield, lots of Russian being spoken. Like when I say lots, I mean a lot of Russian being spoken there. So we're a very multilingual country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, if you go into the apartment and retirement centers over there inside by the Gates Mills area, all the signs are in English and Russian. So it's very much the second language inside Mayfield. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. So I stole the wild card from y'all.
Uh-oh, here we go.
And I need your help writing the prompt. So the executive order that we are going to write a prompt for is declassification of the records concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Ooh.
So how do we write a biblical prompt for that one?
I would actually love those to be released.
Assassination.
I mean, obviously, we could go with the Jesus himself.
I was thinking that too. I mean, yeah.
Being killed on the cross.
He was targeted.
Very targeted. Yeah.
There was a conspiracy.
Huge conspiracy. Yeah, it actually falls right in line.
All right. Summarize this executive order like a chapter. Let's pick a gospel.
I'd go with Luke's. Just more details.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Comparing the conspiracy surrounding the assassinations of government officials and public figures to the conspiracy surrounding the crucifixion of Jesus. Don't reference specific laws. Here we go. Going to town.
Uh-oh. Bum, bum, bum.
And it came to pass that the Lord spake unto his people, saying, in those days, many years after the crucifixion of Lord Jesus, there arose a great conspiracy, and the truth was hidden from the people. The assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were shrouded in secrecy, much like the betrayal and crucifixion of our Savior. The Lord, seeing the sorrow and confusion among the people, declared that it was time to reveal the truth. The families of the slain and the people of the land deserve transparency, just as the followers of Jesus sought understanding after his death. The Lord has once accepted the withholding of certain records, allowing time for reevaluation. But the continued secrecy was no longer in the interest of the people, and the Lord determined that it was their time for full disclosure. And the Lord decreed that within 15 days, the wise men of intelligence and law shall present a plan for the release of the records concerning the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Within 45 days, they shall review the records of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and present a plan for their full release. Just as the conspiracy to crucify Jesus was revealed to his followers, so shall the truth of these assassinations be known to the people. The Lord's command is for transparency, justice, and the enlightenment of the people. Thus spake the Lord, and so it was written, and so it shall be done.
So saith the Lord, but it's never going to happen. We'll see the Red Sea split again before that happens.
Yeah. Wasn't this the one where, because it was Kash Patel who has to release it? No, Pam Bondi has to release it, right?
I think so.
And then was it Tulsi Gabbard who wrote a nasty letter to Pam Bondi because they released it? It was like everything was redacted except like 5 words.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
That's how they always do it. Yeah.
Just like I really highly think that considering who is currently in office, I don't think we'll ever get the rest of the Epstein files.
No. Oh, that was the other one. Who was requesting the Epstein files?
Oh, it was. Oh, what was shoot, I saw that story come up too.
Yeah.
I forget who it was, but yeah, we would love to see the rest of those Epstein files. Geez, I wonder who's on them.
Oh, I gotta. Well, tell me.
Because think about it. Think of how many huge celebrities are out there still right now.
Did you ever see Bill Gates get pressed on an interview about that?
He got so mousy.
My God, it's
Jeez.
he got so squirmy.
Well, and do you remember Trump? Because Trump was when it was in an interview while he was campaigning.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, will you release the files?" At first, he was like, "Oh yeah, I would release the files." And then you can see him thinking about it. He's like, maybe I wouldn't release those files. There's so many nice, decent people that were probably in those files. They don't need that kind of airtime. Like
Oh my God.
he completely backtracked in the same interview.
Yep. Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
I figured once he said that and once things got released, there was gonna be you're just gonna be looking at black.
All redacted.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's making me think a little bit about the whole they don't know yet, but they're thinking the U.S. government was behind bringing the Tate brothers back to the U.S., like Andrew Tate.
I believe it.
Who's like under investigation for like being in like organizing like a sex crime ring in Romania. Yeah, trafficking, and like it's actually like really ticking off some Republicans. Like Ron DeSantis is like real mad about it, like because they've touched down in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. They're an unsavory bunch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen, man.
What you gonna do? Well, thank you, Keith. That was a fun game.
Yeah, that was these executive orders have been biblical proportions. Interpret that as you will.
But
So saith the Lord.
Awesome. Keith, thank you. Any last words?
Oh God. Yeah, that was something. I feel different about my government now. I don't know how I feel about it. Weird stuff, weird times. May you live in interesting times. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No, you're just supposed to respect the autocracy. Gonna be last words.
Yeah, I was thinking back. You and I had a conversation. I can't remember, a couple months ago. We were talking about what fuels like so much conspiracy, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. And I think oftentimes it's easy to label people conspiracy theorists or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I think, really has to do with just distrust in institutional leadership and all these organizations that we see. And it's like, there's just so much institutional distrust.
Yeah.
That can erode
quickly.
I think government and all of that, and just our belief in that. So I think when that happens, you see more quote unquote conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And they balance that out with good TV shows. So
a little West Wing in there.
Yeah.
I heard I'm supposed to be watching Severance now. Have you guys watched that yet?
Oh, dude, Severance is a mind trip. It's like the first season's a little tongue in cheek, but I'm in season 2 right now.
Wait, there's 2 seasons already?
Oh yeah,
I'm so behind.
It
okay.
is.
Catching up to do.
It is trippy. It is trippy. Yeah, we could sit down and do a review over that because there could actually be some implications to how would a Christian handle this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Preview for future shows.
Absolutely.
Nothing taboo over brew, man.
That's right. Please check us out. Go to BibleOverBrews.com, our new site. We have gear up there. It's connected to our social media profiles, our new newsletter. So please go there and check us out. Follow along and give us what you think you would like to see more.
Find us on Blue Sky. We're now on Blue Sky.
That's right.
BibleOverBrews.bluesky.social.
Yep. We're on Instagram. We're on finally doing pretty well on YouTube. We're growing out there and huge on Spotify. So check us out. Godspeed and good night.
Peace out.